And is the primary goal of forensic science to uncover the truth and to provide objective evidence that can be presented in a court?
Yes, it is.
Would you generally agree that the work of forensic science, including the work that you do, is intended to be used in court because scientific evidence can be very powerful, and therefore the forensic science must be accurate?
Correct.
It must be methodical.
Correct.
There must be a method, right?
Right.
It must be detailed.
Yes.
And above all, it must be unbiased and truthful, correct?
That is correct.
And all of this, is it fair to say, distills down to reliability?
Correct.
And reliability is a desired characteristic of the forensic scientist.
Yes.
You want people to be able to rely upon your work.
Yes.
And credibility and honesty is part of reliability, and it's a fundamental component of that, correct?
Yes, that is correct.
You've stated that you hold your opinions to a reasonable degree of scientific certainty. You said that several times on direct, correct?
Correct.
And because the discipline of forensics involves the application of the scientific method, as you stated on direct, you therefore, of course, applied the scientific method throughout your analysis, right?
Yes, that's correct.
Would you agree with the following statement of the scientific method? And tell me whether, well, let me start with, you understand, you know, the National Institute of Standards and Technology, NIST?
Yes, I am familiar. Yeah.
And would you agree with a definition of the scientific method as the systematic pursuit of knowledge involving the recognition and definition of a problem, the collection of data through observation and experimentation, analysis of the data, the formulation, evaluation, and testing of hypotheses, and where possible, the selection of a final hypothesis? I know there's a lot there, and if you'd like me to break any of it down, you let me know.
No, I find that generally acceptable. Yep.
And I wanted to emphasize the end, the evaluation and testing of hypotheses, and where possible, the selection of a final hypothesis. You understand what I'm meaning by hypotheses?
Yes, I do.
I know what a hypothesis is.
The scientific method is used, among other reasons, is it not, to avoid certain biases in the science process, correct?
Yes, correct.
Right. So the method is trying to prevent a scientist, not cultural bias, but scientific bias, correct?
Correct.
Do you know what the American Academy of Forensic Scientists refer to as cognitive biases in science, generally?
No, I do not.
Have you heard of the term confirmation bias?
Yes, I have heard of that term.
Have you heard of the term anchor bias in the scientific method?
I have not heard that term.
Let's start with confirmation bias. Is a fair definition, and you said you're generally familiar with that, right?
Yes, correct.
So let's start with that. That's the practice of sort of selectively gathering and interpreting evidence to confirm the scientist's belief or a belief of another, and at the same time neglecting evidence that contradicts them. Is that a fair definition of confirmation bias?
Yes.
And an example of confirmation bias is not considering alternative hypotheses once an initial hypothesis has been selected, even though the data and other information might contradict the initial hypothesis. Fair statement?
Yes, that's a fair statement.
And confirmation bias, although sometimes it occurs, is intellectually and analytically antithetical to, it's opposing of the scientific method, correct?
Correct, yes.
And it's to be avoided.
Right.
Anchor bias is, and I know you said you didn't recall it, but let me see if this triggers a recollection. If not, fair enough.
Okay.
Anchor bias is when you prioritize information and data that supports your initial impression of the evidence, even where the impressions are incorrect or it's unknown whether the impression is incorrect. You sort of anchor into that. Does that sound like a reasonable definition of anchor bias?
Yes, that sounds reasonable.
So biases are to be avoided in the application of scientific matters and methods because they can lead to incorrect conclusions in science, right?
Right.
And even though they're to be avoided, you called this case a homicide even before you began your alleged scientific testing. Isn't that correct?
Ooh. I don't recall. Where would I have called it a homicide?
Do you recall your January 30th, 2025 report that you prepared in this case?
Yes, I do.
Bubba
Do you
Fent
have
have
it
a
with you?
I do.
burrito and have these
Can you
rolled
turn
tacos.
to page 4, footnote 3, please?
Yes.
Footnote, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. It is page 4, footnote 3. And in page 4, footnote 3,
Almost every
it states,
investigation.
I'm sorry,
involves
sir, are you there?
Tons of
Yes, I am
confirmation
sorry.
It
bias.
says evidence review by the defense counsel Ray O'Keefe, MV homicide. Did I read that correctly?
Yes, you did.
Now, you assumed in the very beginning that Miss Reed had hit Mr. O'Keefe with her car before you began the scientific testing that you had discussed in your direct.
No, that would be incorrect.
But you did list homicide down in footnote 3, correct?
Yes, I did.
And so this report's drafted January 30th, 2025, correct?
Correct.
And the testing, I'll just give you a snapshot. Some of the testing you discussed with Mr. Brennan, that testing didn't occur until after this trial started, correct? Some of the testing you described in direct?
Yes, I'm sorry. Yes.
Okay, so that testing didn't even occur in the trial. Just assume the trial started at April 22nd. So the testing you described when you were talking about aligning clocks and GPS, that occurred after April 22nd, correct?
Correct. You did.
I don't want to call that thing
Another-
a comb over. I feel like that's racist.
Let's talk about
That doesn't go over anywhere.
professional credentials.
It's like a comb.
You know what I mean by the term credentials?
Yes, I do.
What is that?
Professional credentials
What do
are
I call that
important
thing?
in any profession, correct?
Correct.
And they're important in your
Tough.
forensic examiner profession as well.
Correct.
Your forensic scientists and examiners are no different than any other professional that credentials are important. And your profession requires you
Island.
to provide curriculum vitae, laying out your education, training, and background, correct?
Correct.
And it's imperative, is it not, that the information that is disseminated about your professional credentials are absolutely truthful, right?
Yes, they should be.
Uh-oh.
You say they should be.
They
Let's
should be.
continue on with that topic.
Oh, no.
You understand what's meant by the term ethics, right? Generally.
Yes,
No. That's going to be, that
And
doesn't
civil
sound good.
ethics mandate that one
Let's
is
talk
truthful
about that.
about their professional credentials, correct?
Correct.
And a fundamental credential is what type of college degree you hold. Correct?
Uh-oh.
Correct.
People rely on those credentials, and the credentials are the
Did you
foundation
lie
of
about
your
on
expert
your CV?
opinions and analyses, correct?
They can be. Yes.
They can be, and they often are, correct?
Yes, they can be depending on context.
But more often than not, they're important.
Yes. Again, depending on context.
You know that not only your colleagues, but your clients, your firm clients, courts, and juries will rely on your CV and your credentials in order to make determinations about whether you're qualified to testify and your depth of your qualifications, correct?
Correct.
You provided the
Oh, no,
Commonwealth
no.
defense and the court with your CV in this case, correct?
Correct.
My man has got to be sweating bullets right now.
If I can have a moment, Your Honor, I will
Yes.
get my first exhibits.
There's just not a good line of questioning leading up to this.
So I'm presenting you
Unless you
with
should just always walk
what is
like
Exhibit
this.
TT for
backwards.
identification. Do you recognize that document?
Yes, I do.
And what is that document?
So this document appears to be my CV.
And is that CV a document that you have prepared?
Yes, so that is a document that either I have prepared or the company Aperture has prepared.
And is that a fair and accurate document?
Which one is
It
it?
appears to be.
Did you
Your
or
Honor, I'll
Aperture
put that into evidence.
prepare it?
And I'd ask you please to draw your attention to the education section where underneath in red it says BGS. And then, do I read it correctly? It says Bachelor of General Science in Mathematics and Business Administration, University of Alabama Birmingham, Alabama currently pursuing. Did I read that correctly?
You did read that correctly.
Thank you, sir.
How's he pursuing it? Like, presumably he works. Does he go to classes? I mean, they might know.
Mr. Burgess, it's been marked, the document is Exhibit UU for identification. Could you please tell me if you recognize that?
Yes, I do recognize that.
And sir, please describe briefly
Oh my
what
God.
that is.
Sure. So it is a CV as well.
So he doesn't have his bachelor's degree.
I would offer it into evidence at this time, Your Honor. Mr. Burgess,
A
once
sad
you've had a fair
peninsula.
opportunity to look at that, I have a question, and that question is simple. Is that your April 2025 CV?
Yes, it appears to be.
So in those two exhibits, your two CVs in front of you, am I correct that the first one is November 2024 and the second one is April 2025?
Yes, that appears to be correct.
And
It's
in
not
both
a no,
of
right?
those CVs,
Maybe like,
you
shit, what is
indicate
it?
that you have not yet earned a bachelor's degree.
That is correct.
And you certainly have not earned a Bachelor of Science degree in any educational field, according to those two CVs, right?
Correct.
And in fact, as you sit here today, you do not possess any bachelor's degree.
Correct.
And the reason, as you state, is because that bachelor's degree is currently pending. That's the term you use.
So I use currently pursuing.
Currently pursuing, yes. So you have a public profile that's published on Aperture's website, correct?
Yes, I do.
And it's in the form of a biography page.
Yes, I believe so.
And that biography page has your education listed.
Very possible. Yes.
Very possible. Yeah, this is in front of the jury because the jury gets the opportunity to assess the credibility of an expert witness.
May I hand it to the witness?
Yes.
I now, Mr. Burgess, given you Exhibit DB for identification.
Okay.
You recognize that document?
Yes, I do.
And indeed, that is
It's a co-over. There's not enough
the
hair for the
bio
M and the B.
page that's published on Aperture's website, correct?
That is what it appears to be. Yes.
It states, am I correct, sir, BS, Mathematics, and Business Administration. Is that correct?
It does state that. Yes.
And there is no qualification that's currently pending. It states BS in Mathematics and Business Administration, correct?
That's what it states there. Yes.
And you do not have a Bachelor of Science in Mathematics and Business Administration, do you?
No, I do not.
It's on the website, but he's not representing that to the court. So, I mean, it looks dishonest, but he can just blame Aperture's webmaster or
And
whatever.
if you click on the hyperlink for your CV on that same website, do you know where that hyperlink takes you?
No, I do not.
To any member of the public reading this, including prosecutor, a defense attorney, a judge, or a jury, that represents that you received your Bachelor of Science in mathematics and business administration, does it not?
Objection.
That's sustained.
Now, if you continue on to your photograph, are you familiar with Aperture's website that speaks about you and presents you generally?
Vaguely, yes.
Are you aware that Aperture has two hyperlinks, one that says CV and one says LinkedIn? Are you aware of that?
Yes, I am now.
And
asked him on the CV.
LinkedIn is
Yes.
a professional networking platform designed for career and business professionals to connect, share content, find jobs, etc. Is that a fair description of LinkedIn?
Yes, it is.
This guy should have been
And
voir-dired.
could we also
Included.
conclude that
This-
it's a professional
this is
networking
insane.
platform,
I didn't even have a
especially for
fucking
private sector
bachelor's.
firms like Aperture, that's used to attract clients or potential clients?
Yes, correct.
And potential clients include, for example, the Commonwealth of the state of Massachusetts, correct?
Correct.
And indeed, the Commonwealth is no longer, if you will, an attracted client, but it's an actual client of Aperture and you, correct?
Correct.
And that's the status of the relationship here. Aperture is a client of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts in this case, right?
Correct.
So is it fair to say that your CV, especially when it's published on a LinkedIn or published on a website, is something that is published to intend to have, especially if you're in the private sector, have clients view and retain your services? That's a hope and an expectation, correct?
Yes, that is part of it.
Now, when you look at that document, when you click on, if you were to be in your office, and let's see if you're familiar with this, you click on your LinkedIn on Aperture's page, that would ordinarily take you directly to your professional LinkedIn account, correct? Isn't that what the links are there for?
Yes, I would expect so.
Are you notified when someone electronically accesses your LinkedIn account?
Not accesses, no. Are you referring to viewing?
Yes, that's a better
sorry,
verb,
yeah.
viewing. Yes.
Yes.
So you're notified. Were you notified within the last 72 hours that someone from the defense accessed your publicly available or viewed your publicly available LinkedIn account?
No, I was not aware.
Are you aware that within the last 72 hours, that hyperlink on Aperture's official website was disabled?
No, I was not aware.
Are you aware that now if you try to go on that link, that you can't, that it's disabled?
No, I'm not aware of that.
Do you know whether anyone from Aperture directed someone within Aperture to disable your LinkedIn account within the last 72 hours?
No, I'm not.
Have you spoken to anybody at Aperture about your LinkedIn account?
No, I have not.
I don't want to dump on his hair. Like, I don't know what I would do.
Please, the next one, Mark, for.
You got to shave that tuft off, I think.
Thank
You got to trim the swoop or you got to comb it down. I don't know. Get the horseshoe going. Go bald. Paint cool stuff on your head so you go faster or whatever. How dumb do you feel sitting on that stand, getting just
Mr. Burgess, I
wrecked
presented to you
over lying about your education?
what is marked as Exhibit WW for identification. I'd ask that you take a look at it, take a fair amount of time, and then if you could, sir, pick your head up so I could see that you're ready.
Sure.
His face is very red. Yeah, it's because he stopped breathing a while ago.
Okay.
Do you recognize that document, sir?
Yes, it appears to be a screenshot of my LinkedIn account.
Mm.
Your Honor, I offer that into.
Oh.
Can I see you at sidebar with these?
Oh, you don't want to be in this spot at all. You see it, like that guy's face is red because that guy is about to, I mean, he's going to have to answer over and over like, so why'd you lie about your education? Which you just said was super important to be honest about. Why'd you lie about it? Well, a bachelor's degree looks better. Wow. So, yes, it does. That's why you should get one instead of lying about it. It's not going to be great.
Is that a fair and accurate representation of your personal LinkedIn page? You could take a moment to take a look at it.
Sure.
Mr. Alessi, I'm going to ask you to step back so all the jurors can see the
Yes,
pictures,
Your Honor,
please.
thank you.
Step back so they can see your shame. Be ashamed, you fat idiot. Hey, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to lie about my degree. That seems great.
Yes, it does with a error on page 2 regarding education.
Oh, you got an
Right,
error
we're
on
gonna
there.
get to that.
Sure.
But
We're gonna get
this
to that.
is you recognize this as a fair and accurate depiction of your personal LinkedIn page, with the exception of what you just mentioned, correct?
Correct.
Did you draft that document that's represented as Exhibit WW?
I have drafted that over time, yes.
And when was the last time you
How
used
passive can you
that
say it?
document on your LinkedIn page?
I don't typically view the profile page, so it would have been, I could not tell you how long it's been.
Do you have any reason to believe that that Exhibit WW is not on your LinkedIn page online as we sit here today?
No, I don't.
Your Honor, I move Exhibit WW into evidence.
No objection.
This is excellently done by Alessi. He's got a hostile witness, and he's got to get bad evidence on the stand, and the only person who can authenticate it is the hostile witness. That's really hard to do. You have to get this guy to, I mean, the guy could say, you know what, I don't know. I haven't looked at it. I don't remember what I put on there. Well, what if I represented this? I don't remember that. I have no idea.
I would like to turn your attention to
I don't use my
your
personal LinkedIn
the
page.
printout of your personal LinkedIn page and go right to the second page, bottom. And under education, it says University of Alabama at Birmingham. It's got a little UAB acronym there. And it says Bachelor of Science, paren, B period, S period, comma, Applied Mathematics and Scientific Computation, 2016-2018. Do you see that, sir?
Yes, I do.
That's not correct, is it?
No, it's not correct.
And you do not hold a BS in a Bachelor of Science in Applied Mathematics and Scientific Computation from the University of Alabama at Birmingham, do you?
I do not. And that would have been at that time an expected graduation date?
So
So?
it would be expected, you state.
Correct.
Why'd you fail?
It would be another word for, another word currently pursuing? Is that similar to?
How is he still pursuing
Sure,
this
that could be
degree?
similar.
Well, you know how to
2018.
put currently pursuing down, don't you, sir? Because you did it on the first few CVs, but you don't have it on your LinkedIn page. Am I correct?
Correct. That's probably because obviously that has not been updated in quite some time.
And you said you get notifications when people access your LinkedIn page, correct?
I get selective notifications when people view my LinkedIn page.
So
can't
you
get
know
away
people
from a
are
LinkedIn
looking at
notification.
your
I hate
LinkedIn page. You know people are looking at your education. And you have down here 2016 to 2018. So that time period
Look, this
is
hasn't gotten
7
around.
years old from
fixing it in 7 years.
2018. Yet you use the 2016 to 2018 on your LinkedIn page, correct?
Correct. With the caveat that my understanding is people look at your post, not specifically the profile information.
Oh, so you believe?
Yeah, that's how
you
LinkedIn works.
know, apparently, when people
He's on
are
the
looking at
walking
it and
track
what they
path
look
to-
at,
No, that's not what I'm
Disagree.
saying. I'm saying generally.
generally.
Correct.
But you don't know who's looking at the education section on your LinkedIn page and relying upon what is represented here, that you have a Bachelor of Science in Applied Mathematics and Scientific Computation from the University of Alabama at Birmingham?
Not from the LinkedIn page. Yeah, just independently of the LinkedIn page. Yes.
And as you sit here today, that page is still live on your LinkedIn, correct?
Correct.
So a key aspect of your credentials, whether or not you have obtained a Bachelor of Science, is incorrect in more than one document that I've presented here today, correct?
No, I would not agree with that.
You wouldn't.
Well, it's incorrect in this one, correct?
Correct.
And
it's incorrect in
the
this
one
one.
previously
Correct.
to that, there's two documents that have you listed. This LinkedIn, may I approach, Your Honor?
Yes.
Thank you. So there's two documents, is there not, sir? There's, may I? Thank you. And Madam Court Reporter, if I can have the.
No, I wouldn't agree with that.
Evidence?
Well, that's stupid because it's about to get drilled into your face now.
I'm going to take that if I could from you. Thank you. And Exhibit 185 that's in evidence, if you can turn to the second page. So if you look at each of those state that you have a Bachelor of Science in Mathematics and Business Administration. So there are two documents about your credentials that are inaccurate, correct?
Yes, they have errors. Yes, that is correct.
May I have those back,
Sure.
sir?
Yep, both.
Yes.
Yes. There you go.
Some dummy on Twitter said, haha, when you can't attack the data, you attack the witness. Well, no, the credibility of the witness is a core jury consideration. In fact, there's an instruction
Okay,
on the
Your
judge that,
Yes.
that the jury is to assess
Yeah, the
on their
next
own
document, Mark,
the credibility of the expert.
At this point, you hand it to the witness, Your Honor.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Handing the witness Exhibit XX for identification.
Here, we need to
Do you
watch
recognize
the
that
cross.
document, sir?
So it appears to be a CV. Yes.
You say it appears to be a CV. Can you describe that any further?
Yes. So it's a copy of my CV.
Oh, okay.
Is that a CV you prepared, sir?
It would have been prepared by myself or Aperture. Yes.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the end.
Sorry, it would have been prepared by myself or Aperture. Yes.
Yourself or Aperture?
Correct.
But you had, at a minimum, a role in preparing that, did you not?
More than likely, yes.
Yeah, and you would have reviewed that because it's about you before it would have been used by Aperture, correct?
More than likely, yes.
You wouldn't let somebody put a CV up and out to the public without you reviewing it, would you, sir?
So there are other staff members that do review and update CVs.
But you're the only one who's going to know whether what's on it is accurate or not, correct?
Unless I explain that to them, yes.
So either way, either you prepared it yourself or you interacted with somebody and explained it and collaborated with them to make sure it was right to the best of your ability, correct?
Correct.
If you can look at the highlighted portion, sir, under education.
There's no highlight. Well, I understand
sorry.
what you're talking about. There's no highlighted portion.
I'm sorry, let's strike that. If you look under education, the first line, it says in the right underneath BGS. Do you see that, sir?
I do, yes.
And then to the right, it says Bachelor of General Science in Mathematics and Business Administration, University of Alabama - Birmingham, Alabama, 2022. Did I read that correct?
Yes, you did.
And up in the upper left-hand corner, there's a photograph.
Yes, there is.
Is that you, sir, in the photograph?
Yes, it is.
And in the spelling of your name, Shanon, that's with one N, correct?
Correct, yes.
And so that is not only you in the photograph, that's the spelling of your name with one N, correct?
Correct.
And that's the correct spelling of your first name with one N, correct?
Yes, it
So
is.
that's definitely you represented in this document, correct?
Yes, that is correct.
Now let's look at the first line that relates to education. It states Bachelors of General Science in Mathematics and Business Administration, correct?
That is what it states, yes.
And the date is 2022, correct?
Correct.
So this document represents that you received your Bachelor's of General Science in Mathematics and Business Administration in 2022, correct?
That is what it states, but there are a number of errors in that, yes.
Correct.
Correct.
So let's go on.
Let's go back to my
this
question
is
about their
the
two
third
document,
example.
or
Am I
multiple
correct,
document.
sir? Well, let me, may I approach, Your Honor?
Yes.
Hey, Bev, we wanted to do this in voir dire,
Your Honor,
dummy.
this time I offer Exhibit XX into evidence.
No objection.
Okay.
Sir, is
Obama.
Exhibit
Obama.
187 a CV that is linked directly from Aperture's website?
I do not know. I would have to look and check that.
So as you sit here today, you are not able to state whether that CV is linked directly from Aperture's website.
Correct.
So this is a third example of a document that incorrectly states that you have a Bachelor of Science when you do not possess that degree, correct?
It has errors or outdated information. Correct.
Well, when you say outdated, how is it that you can call a date outdated next to something that you don't possess?
I don't understand your question.
Well, you just used the phrase either incorrect or outdated. I'm trying to understand your statement that it's
Sure. So
outdated. Isn't it either you have a Bachelor of Science degree or you don't? Isn't
Well, I lied
I have
earlier.
represented I do not have a bachelor's degree.
correct? But in here, it's represented that you do, correct?
Yes, it is
All
an
right.
error. Yes.
So let's look at what the name is that are on these documents. It says Bachelor of General Science in Mathematics and Business Administration. Do you see that, sir?
I do.
Are you aware that there's no degree at the University of Alabama, Birmingham?
I'll be right back.
Called a Bachelor of General Science in Mathematics and Business Administration?
Yes, I am, and that is one of the errors I identified.
So you would agree that there's not even a degree called Bachelor of General Science in Mathematics and Business Administration offered at the University of Alabama, correct?
Correct. That should be Bachelor of General Studies with minor in Mathematics and Business Administration.
And what you just articulated, you do not possess as you sit here today, correct?
That is correct.
What you possess is an associate's degree, correct?
Correct.
And when did you obtain that associate's degree?
So that would have been 2015.
Are you familiar with the term mendacity?
I am not.
Are you familiar with a CV of 2015?
No, I'm not.
Your Honor, may I have this marked as the next exhibit for identification, please?
Yes.
Thank you. Do you recognize that document, sir?
No, I do not recognize this document.
Do you recall ever pursuing, may I stand here and ask some questions, Your Honor?
Okay.
Thank
Can
you.
he see the document as well, or do you have a copy for him?
He can see it as well, Your Honor.
Okay. I was just wondering the purpose,
Yeah, sure.
and just step back.
Yes,
Mr. Alessi.
yep. Sir, do you recall when you started pursuing a Bachelor
Timing.
of Science degree of any kind?
Sure, I do. Around 2008.
So you started pursuing a Bachelor of Science for the first time in 2008, correct?
Correct.
Was it 13 years ago?
If I did the math correctly, sir, you've been pursuing a Bachelor of Science degree for 17 years, correct?
That is
yeah,
correct.
17.
And you have not
I don't have
obtained
a
it
Bachelor of
as you
Math.
sit here today.
Me alone.
That is correct.
And yet there are the various documents that we've seen that state that you have obtained the Bachelor of Science, correct?
Again, with errors or misinterpretation. Yes.
Errors or
Misinterpretation.
misinterpretation that are you stating, but you would agree those errors or misinterpretation have been in existence for some time, correct?
Yes, I'm being made aware of them now. Yes.
Yeah, and they haven't been corrected for some time, correct?
Correct.
You work for insurance companies, correct?
I do work for insurance companies in addition to law firms. Yes.
But you work for insurance companies, correct?
Yes, sometimes. Yes.
Well, you state that right in your report in this case, don't you, sir? That you work for insurance companies?
Again, I do work for insurance companies. Yes.
And what role do you play in working for insurance companies? You working for them, or are you working for the policyholders that have paid premiums or are making a claim to try to get money from an insurance company? Which role do you have?
Objection.
I'll allow that.
So I work for the insurance company themselves.
And in your work for the insurance company, has any of that work related to denying claims to insureds?
Objection.
Why don't I see you on this, Mr. Alessi?
Sure.
Why? Why? Again, they should be able to cross-examine this guy for honesty about his education, training, and experience all day.
Are you familiar with the phrase academic dishonesty?
Yes, I am.
Cool. Describe what it means and why
Let's
you
talk about your work on this case. In October of 2024, the Commonwealth hired you to perform a new data acquisition from the infotainment and telematics system of Ms. Reed's Lexus SUV, correct?
That is correct.
And in your October 10, 2024 report, you outlined a proposal for attempting to extract additional data from the telematics and infotainment modules, correct?
Correct. With the caveat, it's not a report, it is a proposed protocol.
So we'll call it a proposal. In that proposal, you explain why, in your opinion, you believed an additional data acquisition was necessary based on your words, education, training, and background, correct?
That is correct.
When you prepared your proposal,
Oh my God.
you
Why?
had access to the manufacturing specifications of the chips in question, correct?
I did.
You were under no critical deadlines to get the work done, correct?
Correct.
In your initial October 10, 2024 report, you explained that you believed the data acquisition was incomplete because, in your opinion, based on your education, again,
State
your
attorney
words,
should be
training, and
sanctioned for this
experience,
guy.
the download of the acquisition was less than the chip's storage capacity, correct?
That is correct.
And converting megabytes, B-Y-T-E-S, to megabits, B-I-T-S, and gigabytes to gigabits is a basic digital forensic concept. And that concept's critical to successful data acquisition and analysis. Fair statement?
I would say that's a fair statement.
Yep.
In your initial report, you stated that the December 2023 data acquisition was from the spansion clip, S-P-A-N-S-I-O-N, from the infotainment model was incomplete because the acquisition was only 8 megabytes in size, even though the chip has a storage capacity of 64 megabytes, correct?
Yes, that is correct.
And that's your October 10, 2024 report, correct?
Protocol.
I'm sorry, well, is it proposal or protocol?
Protocol.
Protocol?
It is a protocol.
We'll use protocol. And you blame this on the, quote, programmer's inability to fully read the component, close quote, correct?
Correct.
In point of fact, the manufacturing specifications establish that the total flash memory component of the chips in question is equal to 64 megabits, not 64 megabytes, correct?
That is correct.
64 megabits is 8 megabytes, correct?
That is correct.
That means the spansion chip was not incomplete, correct?
Correct.
Correct.
The acquisition was the same data size as the total memory storage capacity of the chip, correct?
Correct.
Your protocol for data acquisition was based on a misunderstanding of megabits versus megabytes, correct?
It was based on a working theory and a misinterpretation. Yes.
And that was your misinterpretation.
Yes, it was.
Yeah.
You
That doesn't
mentioned
look good, brother.
Ms. Gaffney in your direct testimony. Do you recall that, sir?
Yes, I do.
She successfully acquired 8 megabytes of data from that spansion chip during the
I
December
learned that shit over 30 years ago.
2023 chip off, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
And that wasn't your only conversion mistake in
Oh,
your
no.
October 10, 2024 report, was it?
I'm not aware of any others.
You stated in the
Ah,
report
Alessi, stop
that
it.
the data acquisition of
also hear.
the Micron JWB57 was incomplete because the acquisition was only 540 MB in size, but the storage capacity was 4 GB. And that's stated in your October 10, 2024 report, correct?
Protocol. Yes, correct.
The Micron JWB57 chip is 4 gigabits flash memory component, not a 4 gigabyte flash memory component, as you incorrectly stated in your protocol.
That is correct.
So contrary to your assertion in the report, 4 gigabits is equal to 50 megabytes, which suggests that all the available data was successfully retrieved from this chip during the first acquisition by Ms. Gaffney, correct?
Correct.
So Ms. Gaffney was not in error on that. She did not make a mistake on that, correct?
Not on that specific thing. Yes.
Right. It was you that simply misunderstood the difference between gigabits and gigabytes, correct?
Misinterpreted. I would not say misunderstood.
You misinterpreted the difference between gigabits and gigabytes.
Correct. At that
You
time.
got
yes.
that wrong in layperson's terms.
Correct. I did make an error.
These are.
You stated in your report that Micron, and I'm going to have to give an alphanumeric number because I know in digital forensics it's important to be precise and accurate. So bear with me.
Oh,
sir.
that was just mean. That's
You stated
mean.
in your report that the Micron 29F2G08 ABAEA is a 2 gigabyte chip, and that the acquisition should have been 2 gigabytes, but was incomplete because it was only 264 MB in size, correct?
That is correct.
And the Micron, and I'm just going to refer back to the number to not repeat it, the long alphanumeric number is a 2 gigabit flash memory component, not a 2 gigabyte flash memory component, as you incorrectly stated in your protocol, correct?
Yes, that is correct.
So 2 gigabytes is equal to 250 megabytes, correct?
Correct.
And that suggests that all available data was successfully retrieved during the first acquisition by Ms. Gaffney, correct?
From those chips, yes.
From those chips.
Correct.
I'm correct, right?
Yes.
What about from the Lay's chips?
Your opinion was again incorrect and was based on a misunderstanding of gigabits and gigabytes, correct?
A misinterpretation, correct.
A misinterpretation in layperson's terms. You got that wrong also.
It was an error, yes.
Did you have that protocol peer reviewed, sir?
No, I did not.
Was it peer reviewed by anybody at Aperture?
No, it was not.
Oh,
Did you have a supervisor review that protocol before you filed it with the court?
No, sir.
You submitted your proposal based on your education, background, and experience, correct?
Correct.
Turns out that the entire foundation of your proposal was based on a fundamental misinterpretation of the difference between a
that's
computer
embarrassing.
bit and a computer byte, correct?
No, not the entire thing. No.
Well,
just most of it.
Certainly a part of it was, correct, sir?
Correct. Partial.
You got conversions wrong with respect to analyzing 3 different chips, correct?
Correct.
And since you wrote that, have you learned the difference between a bit and a byte?
I've always known the difference between a bit and a byte. Yes.
Always.
You learned that in this case from reading the affidavit of an expert for the defense who pointed out those errors before you submitted your supplemental report. Isn't that correct?
I would have to go back and look at the timing on that. I believe I submitted the supplemental before the protocol from the other expert.
Are you certain of that?
I'm not certain of that.
Isn't it the case that the expert for the defense submitted his affidavit before you submitted your supplemental report?
Objection.
Do you know that?
I do not know that.
You don't know one way or another.
Correct.
And that person that I've referred to for the defense is Matthew DeSogra. You know that name?
I do.
And you have read Mr. DeSogra's affidavit in this case, have you not, sir?
I have, yes.
Do you know?
And you would agree that he pointed out
capillaries work?
these misinterpretations of yours in his affidavit, correct?
Correct.
Oh,
I would like to go back to your January 30th, 2025 report.
you always just hope the jury understands what's going on here. They don't have some stupid asshole going, like every 2 seconds, like you guys do. But man, this guy is getting ravaged.
You have a moment, Your Honor, please?
Yes.
Thank you.
He's gonna have to thank Alessi and take him to dinner after this.
May I proceed, Your Honor?
Yes.
Thank you. In your January 30th, 2025 report, you know which one I'm referring to, sir?
Yes, I do.
Am I correct that you indicated that at the time of this, quote, incident, Burla did not offer support for the infotainment and telematics modules removed from the Lexus, but have since released updated software according to similar modules that are supported by in-vehicle acquisition?
That is correct.
And the infotainment module that was removed from Ms. Reed's Lexus is consistent with the MMU. You know what I'm referring to in the MMU?
Right.
It's consistent with the MMU documented by Burla and has been identified as containing an internal micro SD card not acquired during the initial chip-off acquisition by Mrs. Gaffney. You remember that statement in the report, sir?
I do. Yes.
You obtained no additional information from the chips that were already analyzed by Ms. Gaffney, did you?
Correct.
Correct that you obtained no additional information, right?
No data of value from those chips. Yes.
No data of value. So all the data of value Ms. Gaffney had already obtained from those chips, correct?
That's kind of a confusing question. So there was no data
Yeah, we know
of
you're
value
confused.
from those chips to begin with.
Fair enough.
Right.
So Ms. Gaffney didn't miss anything of value.
Correct.
Fair?
Correct.
Do you know how much the Commonwealth has paid Aperture to date for doing the work in this case?
I do not.
Do you have any involvement
That's
at all
That Brennan meme was
in knowing what
fire.
the contract is between Aperture and the Commonwealth?
I do not.
Have you ever had any discussions with any colleagues from Aperture with regard to how much Aperture has been paid in this case?
No, I have not.
Do you have an estimation as to how much Aperture has been paid in this case?
Not off the top of my head. I do not.
You've never had any discussion with anybody at Aperture about the fees Aperture has charged the Commonwealth in this case?
No, I have not.
Who in Aperture is in charge of knowing how much fees Aperture has charged the Commonwealth?
That would be the accounting department,
Would Dr. Judson Welcher know?
potentially.
Your analysis, I want to move on to another category, sir. Your analysis in this case was not strictly limited to data in science, was it?
No, it was strictly limited to data and science.
The Commonwealth requested that you review numerous materials in connection with your analysis in this case, correct?
I did review materials, yes.
You did not review the January 29, 2022 CARS report by, well, let me put it this way. Did you review the January 29, 2022 CARS report prepared by Trooper Paul?
No, I did not.
Do you know what a CARS report is?
I do not.
Do you know that a CARS report was prepared by Trooper Paul for this case?
No, I do not.
If there was a collision analysis and reconstruction report prepared by a trooper in that case, would you want to see a document such as that?
No, not for my analysis.
Would somebody at Aperture want to see that document?
Objection.
I'll reword. Are you familiar with collision analysis and reconstruction reports prepared by law enforcement agencies?
I am vaguely familiar, yes.
Vaguely familiar? Have you ever used one in your analysis at all?
I have seen them, yes.
You've seen them. And my question is, seeing them, have you ever
This guy being
read
impeached. He's
any of
being
them?
impeached right
Yes,
now.
yes, I have read them. Yes.
Have you ever considered a collision analysis and reconstruction report as part of the work that you do at Aperture?
Not specifically a collision analysis report from law enforcement. We do routinely see crash reports, but I think what you're referring to is something else.
Are you aware of a supplemental collision analysis and reconstruction report of Trooper Paul of the Massachusetts State Police dated July 24, 2024?
No, I'm not.
Do you know whether Trooper Paul is part of the Massachusetts State Police reconstruction team?
I do not.
And lastly, do you know whether he's part of the reconstruction team in this case?
I do not.
Did anybody tell you to avoid reviewing a collision analysis and reconstruction report in this case?
No, they did not.
You did, however, review the 2024 testimony of Trooper Nicholas Garino in the proceeding of last year, didn't you?
I did for specific data, yes.
So that's not really science and data, is it? It's testimony.
Yes, it is testimony.
So you did review materials in this case beyond science and data, correct? You reviewed testimony.
Sure, that is common, yes.
But you said you didn't do it.
Having reviewed Trooper Garino's testimony, you therefore are aware of the theory that he proposed in the first proceeding, correct? It was in his testimony?
Objection.
I'll allow that.
I'm not. So specifically, I reviewed Trooper Garino's testimony for information related to the infotainment and telematics modules.
So did you read all of the testimony?
No, I would have skimmed it.
You would have skimmed the testimony?
Correct.
And how would you, and what would be the purpose to just skim it?
Sure. So I'm only interested in the information related to the infotainment and telematics modules.
So you just, I want to make sure I have this right. So you would skim it, you would look for what you want to focus on, and you, as you sit here today, you don't have any recollection of what the theory of the Commonwealth was in the first proceeding?
Not from that testimony, no.
Do you recall Trooper Garino as part of what you reviewed? So you reviewed certain things of Trooper Garino in his testimony, correct?
Correct.
And in your direct testimony, you testified extensively about the iPhone of John O'Keefe, correct?
Correct.
And you looked at and testified about a lot of information from the phone of John O'Keefe. Is that a fair statement?
Location data.
Location data. Did you read, therefore, Trooper Garino's claim that the last...
Objection. Objection.
What?
Why don't I see it sidebar? I find out where it belongs to Alessi?
Sure.
Objection. Really kicking the crap out of us right now. Oh, man. My kids keep saying like stuff's getting cooked or people are getting cooked or whatever. This guy is getting cooked. He is no. no recourse for how bad he looks.
May I approach, Your Honor?
Yes.
Thank you. May I have this marked as the next exhibit for identification, please, Your Honor?
Yes.
Yeah, the CV,
Yes.
Thank you.
my CV
Sir, I'm
is
handing you what has been marked as Exhibit ZZ
a
for
list of
identification.
scotches.
Ask you to take a moment to look at it, please, when you've had a fair opportunity to look at it. If you could pick your head up, sir, and I'll proceed that time. Does Exhibit ZZ contain, and if you just answer this yes or no, that would be great. Does it contain location, data,
Oh.
information?
Objection.
The mics.
I'll allow that without pursuing
That's
it.
the only one I have for that purpose.
Okay.
Does it, sir?
Yes, it does.
Did you consider this part of Trooper Garino's testimony in any review that you've done in this case?
No, I did not.
On December, we're going to move on now to another topic, sir. On December 5th, 2024, Detective Lieutenant Brian Tully, you know that name, sir?
Yes, I do.
How do you know that name?
So he is the one who hand delivered the infotainment and telematics module to our office in South Lake.
Exactly. So he delivered the infotainment module containing the SD card that you talked about on direct examination so that you could attempt to reinstall it in Miss Reed's vehicle for an in-vehicle acquisition attempt, correct?
That was part of it. Yes,
That was part of it.
correct.
That day, you initially attempted an in-vehicle acquisition, meaning you reconnected the infotainment module to the faceplate in Miss Reed's vehicle and reinstalled both the infotainment and the telematics module for an in-vehicle unlock and acquisition, correct?
That was an attempt, yes, on December 7th for clarification.
And that was on December 7th.
Correct.
And that was December 7th of 2024.
Correct.
You conducted this same testing on an exemplar vehicle. And to be clear, exemplar was a vehicle that Aperture had purchased.
Yes, that is a vehicle that Aperture has purchased.
So Aperture purchased it. And it's a vehicle, as I understand it, you testified, that's similar to the vehicle of Miss Reed, correct?
Correct.
And so you call it an exemplar because it's similar to the vehicle in question, correct?
Correct. Correct.
So I'm going to continue using your parlance of exemplar vehicle.
Sure.
And so you conducted this same testing on the exemplar vehicle and successfully reinstalled and tested the infotainment and telematics systems for an in-vehicle unlock and acquisition, correct?
For an in-vehicle acquisition, not for an unlock.
Okay, so for just an in-vehicle acquisition.
Correct.
I appreciate the correction, sir. But in this case, with Miss Reed's actual Lexus, you were unable to successfully reinstall and test the infotainment and telematics systems, correct?
Correct.
On Miss Reed's Lexus, you were able to get the infotainment backlight and faceplate to illuminate, but in your own words, the infotainment system did not respond as expected, correct?
Correct.
So instead, you took the micro SD card itself and attempted to retrieve data from that card directly, correct?
Correct.
Lexus locks cards in its system, correct?
It does, yes.
If Lexus thought it was appropriate to access those cards, do you know whether or not they would have them unlocked? Do you know?
I do not know.
Now,
I'm
Oh,
going to
sorry.
let the answers.
Thank you, Your Honor. I want to cover a basic question. Do you have any citation to any scientific literature where specifically what you did on this Lexus model has ever done before? Has it ever been done before, do you know?
No, not on this specific model, which is why we did the exemplar testing.
Right. So there's no scientific literature that states that the methodology that you used with this Lexus model is an appropriate methodology at all, correct?
There is literature that addresses the methodology in other
In other
ways,
Other
but not
ways?
specific to this Lexus. Correct.
There's no literature at all stating that the methodology that you used for this Lexus is the appropriate methodology to use for this Lexus model, correct?
There is no literature about this appropriate Lexus model. Correct.
But he's an expert with no degree that he lies about. The state's right now like, okay. I knew
Talk
it.
about
I knew we were
your
doing it.
initial report of January 30th of 2025. You issued your initial analysis and report on January 30th, 2025, correct?
Correct.
See how red his face is. Imagine how
Your
red his
report
ass is right
included
now.
a
He's getting spanked.
general timeline analysis. You use that phrase, timeline analysis, that you stated could impact, quote, event reconstruction. Do I have that right? Your January 30th, 2025 report does not discuss a collision, does it?
No, not in my report. No.
As a matter of fact, your January 30th, 2025 report
gay.
doesn't even use the word collision, does it?
Correct, because I'm looking at data from the infotainment and telematics module.
But the report of January 30th, 2025 does not even contain the word collision in it, correct?
I believe it does in the background portion, which would be on page 2 or 3, which would just be restating the. If you mind, if I can look at my report.
Oh, please.
Sure.
Go ahead.
Did you lie about being able to read too, you dummy?
No, so I apologize. The word that was used was incident.
Right.
Correct.
But you don't use the word collision at all in your January 30th, 2025 report.
That is correct.
I appreciate you checking that, sir. Also, and please keep your report handy.
Sure.
Your January 30th, 2025 report does not in any way detail the timing of what you now call a text stream event at all, correct?
No, it does not.
So in your January 30th, 2025 report, you refer to it as an incident, and in your May 8th report, you refer to it as a text stream event, correct?
That would be referring to two different things.
Right. But did you use the parlance text stream event at all in your January 30th, 2025 report?
No, I did not.
But you're using it now, correct?
Correct.
And we're talking about the same event, right?
Correct.
In fact, your analysis and conclusions were limited in your January 30th, 2025 report to generally identifying a clock skew between Mr. O'Keefe's phone and Miss Reed's infotainment system, correct?
That is correct.
On January 30th, 2025, you engaged in no further analysis to determine whether precisely the 1162.2 text stream event that you now call it occurred, correct?
Correct.
Why not?
I was not asked to at that time. I was just asked to look at the general timeline and consistency of the timestamps.
So back in January 30th, 2025, you were not asked to engage in analysis to determine when precisely the 1162.2 text stream event occurred. Is that fair?
That is fair, and that is based on the common concept that, you know, a lot of cases that we work, there is clock skew, but we do not have events to precisely determine what that clock skew is.
Understood. So wasn't your goal, however, on January 30th, 2025, to determine the correct timeline of events relative to this incident? Wasn't that your goal?
It was my goal to determine the data from the infotainment and telematics modules that were missed in the initial download, and create a timeline and consistency of those timestamps.
So your goal was to create a timeline, correct?
Correct.
And that timeline, among other uses, was to be for your colleague, Dr. Judson Welcher, to use that in his analysis, correct?
That is correct.
So you knew not only what your purpose was, but you knew what your work was going to be used for by Dr. Welcher, your colleague, correct?
Well, I knew it was going to be provided, yes.
Well, you knew it was going to be provided. Have you ever talked to Judson Welcher, your colleague, about this case at all?
I have vaguely, yes.
How many times have you talked to him?
I would count a handful of times.
And just give me a general idea of the nature of the discussions between you and Dr. Welcher. You're both working on the same, quote, incident, right?
Sure, yes.
What would have been the nature of those discussions?
So those discussions would have been identifying what I found on the infotainment and telematics modules, and discussing, explaining that data to Dr. Welcher.
So did Dr. Welcher ever tell you, your colleague, why he wanted to use that data for his purposes?
For reconstructing a timeline.
And for reconstructing a timeline and picking a time for what you now call a text stream event, correct? You knew that's what he was doing.
Correct, for a timeline, yes.
Right, so you knew that for the 1162.2 text stream event, he was going to use your analysis back in January of 2025 to try to pinpoint that text stream event 1162.2, correct?
That is correct.
You knew that.
Yes.
And you know that he used that data to select a specific range for that text stream 1162.2 text stream event, correct?
I don't know if select would be the right. I understand what you're saying. Yes.
What term would you use?
Sure. So based on the data, he's identifying the time approximately when that event would have occurred.
And that text stream event, that 1162.2, is what Aperture is contending is a time of a collision. Is that correct, to your knowledge?
That's sustained on that. Ask it differently, Mr. Nelson.
Do you know the purpose of the 1162.2 text stream event in the analysis performed by your firm?
No, Dr. Welcher, I do not.
So you performed your analysis in all these timelines that you talked about on direct without knowing what Dr. Welcher was going to do with that data?
No, so sorry, I misspoke. So it would be to timeline the time and date, or to put a time and date with when that text stream trigger would have occurred.
Exactly.
Right.
So you knew what the purpose was of your work
Correct.
with regard to Dr. Welcher's work.
Correct.
And isn't Dr. Welcher's work on the 1162.1 and the 1162.2 text stream event an important aspect of the work of Aperture in this case?
Yes, it is.
Did anybody from the Commonwealth ask you in your January 30th, 2025 report to not discuss your work in connection with the text stream 1162.1 and the 1162.2 events?
No.
But you didn't discuss that, meaning the 1162.1 and 1162.2 events, in your first report in January 30th, did you?
That was not part of my report, correct?
But you did
You
delve
did.
into that, and pretty heavily, in your May 8th report, correct?
Correct.
And you delved into that pretty heavily in the middle of this trial, correct?
Correct.
So after the trial, do you know the trial started around April 22nd in this case?
Yes, generally.
So let's do the timeline on this. January 30th, 2025, you prepare your initial report, correct?
Correct.
In that initial report, you mentioned nothing about text stream event 1162.1, correct?
Correct.
In that report, you mentioned nothing about text stream event 1162.2, correct?
Correct.
The trial starts April 22nd, correct?
Correct.
Roughly.
Generally.
No, the trial in this case, this trial, about April 22nd. After the trial starts and after witnesses, of course, are appearing, you prepare another report, correct?
Correct.
And that's your May 8th report,
Correct.
right in the middle of this trial.
Correct.
Yeah, I don't know that a jury knows that this is a problem.
And right in the middle of this trial, you enlarge the number for the 21 to 29 range. That's bigger than what was in your first report, correct?
No, that is not correct.
Well, you changed the number, don't you?
No, I did not change the number.
Well, let's go back
Really?
to see exactly what you did, sir.
Oh, no.
Let's start with the basics.
They don't tend
You
to ask.
said on direct
Yes, they know.
examination, sir, that you prepared your May 8th report on your own initiative. Those were your words on your direct testimony, correct?
Correct.
Lie.
I'm going to read the first line of your May 8th, 2025 report.
Okay.
Hank Brennan asked me
you
to
have
do
it in front of
this.
you, sir?
I do. Yes.
It starts, Dear Mr. Brennan. Do you see that?
Yes, I do.
Pursuant to your request. That's a request you're referring to of Mr. Brennan, correct?
Correct.
I have completed an additional analysis concerning the above referenced matter. To formulate opinions, the following additional items were reviewed. This wasn't done on your initiative. You put in writing you did it at the request of Mr. Brennan. Which is it?
So that was on my own initiative. This is a holdover, so a copy and paste from my original report.
You're explaining the May 8th report in your language pursuant to your request as a cut and paste from a previous report?
Yes, I am.
Stoneface says it.
Do you cut and paste important information from one report to the other without checking it for accuracy?
I copy and paste certain portions.
Do you ever review what you cut and paste to see if it's accurate?
Yes.
You didn't review it this time, though, did you, sir?
No.
No.
I did not think it was significant.
Oh, you don't think it's significant, sir, that the matter is in the middle of a trial and there's a request for a new report after testimony has occurred in that trial? You don't think that's important?
Objection.
Sustained.
Why did you prepare the new report then?
Sure. So there was a claim from a PowerPoint presentation by Mr. DeSogra of trying to adjust clock syncs or making clock adjustments based on the synchronization
No, I just
of
cut and paste
certain
my
events.
report.
That was produced in March. Upon reviewing that, my initial thoughts were to address that in testimony. But as I was preparing for trial, I made the decision that it needed to be better addressed in a supplemental report.
But you understand that the report that you're referring to, that's the report of Mr. Soger, correct?
It is a presentation of Mr. DeSogra.
It's
Correct.
a presentation. You understand his presentation merely was responding to the work that you did, correct?
No, that's not correct.
So your belief is that Mr. DeSoger's report didn't address at all what you had done?
Partially, yes, but no.
Okay, but let's cover the basics. You
Sure.
agree that Mr. DeSogra addressed, at least in part, the work that you had done?
He tried to address, yes.
Right. So do you know the date of Mr. DeSoger's report as March 5th? Does that sound right to you?
Yes, that's what
So
I said.
you had Mr. DeSogra's report that you claim was the basis for you on your own in the middle of this trial, creating and submitting a new report. You claim that the basis for that was Mr. DeSogra's report of March 5th of 2025.
That is correct.
They had to turn the AC back
You
on
waited
because of how toasty this guy's cheeks are.
2 months to do that.
Again, my initial thoughts were to address it on
My
testimony.
question, sir, is not your thoughts, just did you wait 2 months?
Just let him finish the answer.
My question, sir, finish it how you'd like.
Sure. So
2 months, was it 2 months between March 5th and when you submitted your report on May 8th? Is that 2 months?
yes, it is.
So
Bougie, he could be disqualified as an
did you
expert
know
in
when
the
this
case.
trial was going to start, sir? Generally?
Yes.
He should be.
Do you think it's fair to submit a report without anybody asking you in the middle of a trial?
Objection.
Sustained.
The AC isn't for his cheeks. The AC is for everybody else in the room as he heats it up.
As we've been discussing, you issued a brand new report, in this case dated May 8th, 2025, correct?
Correct.
That changed your analysis, correct?
No, it did not change my analysis.
Were there changes to your analysis in it?
There were clarifications.
Clarifications.
Correct.
Let's address that. In your January 30th, 2025 report, you did not mention tech stream event at all, did you?
No, I did not.
And you didn't mention collision at all, correct?
No, I did not.
And you mentioned both of those now in your May 8th, 2025 report, correct?
I don't know if I mentioned collision. I'd have to go to my report and look.
But you certainly do mention tech stream events, correct?
Yes, that's
And
correct.
you labeled them 1162.1 and 1162.2, correct?
Correct.
That's a change from your first report, isn't it, sir?
No, it's not a change. It's a supplement.
Oh, so your definition is that when you add something to a report, it's not a change, it's a supplement?
That is what it is. Yes.
No, no, it's not. It's not a supplement unless it's
Who did you speak
supplemental.
to
If it's replacing
regarding
data, it's not
The May
supplemental.
8th, 2025 report.
It's an
before you
amended
prepared it.
report.
And no one before I
So then
prepared
it's
it.
changed.
So you just prepared it on your own.
I did.
It's out of nowhere.
Did you
It's just like, you know, I've been
have
thinking.
any communications at all? I asked you who you spoke with, but did you have any communications at all with either Detective Lieutenant Tully or Buchanan?
So I did reach out to Tully to get a full set of the location data. Yes.
So you reached out to Detective Tully before you prepared your May 8th report, correct?
Yes, that is correct.
Did he tell you that the trial had started in this case?
No, not during that conversation. No.
That's not the first communication you had with Detective Tully, was it?
No, it's not.
How many conversations have you had with Detective Tully?
I would say a handful.
How much is a handful?
Yeah, I would be speculating, but we'll say 5 to 10.
5 to 10.
Sure.
Is Detective Tully expert at all in digital forensics?
No.
But you've had 5 to 10 conversations with him.
Correct. To get provided information.
At any time, has anybody from the Commonwealth had a discussion with
We're almost at
you
1,000 likes, guys.
relative to
Slap that
your
like button, please.
January 30th, 2025 report or your May 8th, 2025 report about keeping flexible the timelines for any events in this case?
No, sir.
Did you have any discussions at all regarding the May 8th, 2025 report you prepared in the middle of this trial with anyone from the district attorney's office?
Yes.
When did you have those discussions?
That would have been on, probably May 7th when I reached out to Mr. Brennan.
So you reached out to Mr. Brennan on May 7th, 2025, correct?
Correct.
That's before May 8th of 2025, correct?
Correct.
So before you sent that report in, you had a discussion with Mr. Brennan about it, am I correct?
Correct.
What was that discussion about?
That was just a discussion over the data and what the report said.
So you were discussing with Mr. Brennan what was going to be in your report, including data and analysis, correct?
Correct.
I do not look better clean shaven. You knock that shit off
Did you
immediately.
tell Mr. Brennan that you were going to be submitting the report shortly to him on May 8th?
Yes.
Did you agree to a time when you would submit that report?
No, I did not.
Did you tell him when you were going to submit it?
No, I did not.
But after the conversation on May 7th, you discussed with him that you had either pretty close to finalize the report. It's a pretty extensive report, right?
Correct.
So on May 7th, you were pretty well along the way in that report, correct?
Correct.
Did you let Mr. Brennan know that?
Yes.
So he knew the nature of the report. He knew how far along we were with it.
Correct.
Did you have any other calls with anybody from the prosecution's office other than that about your May 8th report?
No, I don't believe so.
Do you have any texts
No,
with
this wouldn't be-
anybody about your May 8th
Wouldn't be
report?
trial by ambush.
No.
Did you communicate with anybody else about your upcoming May 8th report?
No, I would have provided a copy to Dr. Welcher.
Your colleague.
Correct.
So Dr. Welcher knew you were working on this report, correct?
He knew I submitted the report. I don't know if he knew I was working on the report.
Did he know
Right.
you were going to submit the report before you submitted it?
Yes, I'm sorry. Yes.
Then he knows you're working on the
Did
report,
he
you
know
dummy.
what was going to be in the report?
Stop sounding
he
like
did.
this.
Did he support the fact that you were going to submit a report in the middle of trial?
I can't speak for Dr. Welcher.
But he knew you were going to do it.
Correct.
Did he say anything, don't do that? Or did he have any comment about the fact you were going to submit it?
Not that I recall off the top of my head.
Not that you recall, so is it possible he did comment on whether you should submit it in the middle of trial?
No, he would not have commented on whether I should have submitted it or not.
He wouldn't have.
How
do
many
you know?
times in your career, sir, have you submitted a supplemental or amended report in the middle of trial?
This would be the
First
only
one.
one that I recall.
Yep, the
So
only
this
one.
is the only time.
This,
How many years have you been
this is
doing
great.
Approximately 10 years.
And so approximately 10 years,
10
this
years.
is the first
He's
time
lying on his CV
you've
the whole
submitted
time.
a amended supplemental report in the middle of a
This is
trial.
really important
A
because
supplemental report.
again, the
Correct.
jury doesn't know that
Supplement-
this
you
is
call it
weird
a supplemental report in the middle of trial.
necessarily.
Correct.
Do you know a person by the name of Ian Whiffen?
Yes, I'm familiar with the name.
You say you're familiar with the name. Are you more than familiar with his name? Are you familiar with his work?
I'm familiar with his report in this case. Yes.
So you're familiar with his work if you're familiar with his report, correct?
Correct.
Were you given do you know that Mr. Whiffen has testified in this trial?
No, I do not.
And with regard to Mr. Whiffen's report, did you read it?
Yes, I did read his report.
And that would be of interest to you, correct? That's why you read it?
Correct.
Because Mr. Whiffen's report, and are we talking about Mr. Whiffen's January 2025 report or his March
Niels,
2025 report? Are you aware there's two of them?
He lied
No,
on
I'm
his
not.
Do
CV.
you
Said
know
he,
which one you're referring to?
That would be the January report.
So
Said
the
he had
January
degrees that he didn't have.
2025 report. Are you aware that there's just a couple minor differences between the two reports, or you're just not aware?
I'm not aware of either way.
Assume there's very minor differences with the reports. Mr. Whiffen's reports contain information and some detailed, and they're long reports, right?
Yes, they are.
So Mr. Whiffen's report contains information about the cell phone of Mr. O'Keefe, correct?
Correct.
It contains information about the location data in Mr. O'Keefe's phone, right?
Correct.
It contains information about the phone calls in Mr. O'Keefe's report, correct?
Correct.
It contains information about the temperature of the battery in the iPhone of Mr. O'Keefe, right?
Correct.
It
Correct.
has some timelines in that report, correct?
Correct.
And those timelines have very specific events that are represented in the data from Mr. O'Keefe's cell phone, correct?
Correct.
As a matter of fact, it's got location data and times that you have used in your report and PowerPoint presentation here, correct?
Correct.
When did you receive the report of Mr. Whiffen with regard to the cell phone of Mr. O'Keefe?
So I would have received his report sometime in January.
So
You would have or you did?
4 months ago, you had the report of Mr. Whiffen with substantial information about the types of databases you can find in the iPhone, location data, health data, phone calls, and a timeline, among other information, correct?
Correct.
You had all that information.
Correct.
And you had GPS location data in that report regarding Mr. O'Keefe's iPhone, correct?
Correct. SQLite?
SQLite,
Yes.
yeah.
Yes.
And an SQLite database is one of the many databases that are contained within an iPhone, including Mr. O'Keefe's iPhone, correct?
Correct.
And you testified on your direct that you have general knowledge about cell phones, correct?
Correct.
You say you've got certifications with regard
They got
to
these
cell
papers.
phones,
They got these
correct?
papers.
Correct.
And your certifications include being able to read Celebrite and apply the Celebrite tool, correct?
Correct.
And you have certifications that allow you to apply and utilize magnet forensics, like, for example, their Axiom program, correct?
Correct.
And you've done that in your career. You've applied those tools before this case, correct?
Correct.
And you've applied those tools after your work in this case. You apply them pretty much frequently, correct?
Correct.
So the tools, the databases in an iPhone, and all the location data, etc., that was all information you had and you knew and had FASL with back in January of 2025, correct?
Correct.
And you had access to the SQLite database because you had Mr. Whiffen's report, correct?
Correct.
Correct. I had the report.
You
Yes.
had the report. Do you recall on your direct testimony saying that one of the reasons that you did this supplemental report on May 8th was you got new information or more information about Mr. O'Keefe's cell phone?
Yes. Correct.
You had that information through Mr. Whiffen's report back in January of 2025, didn't you, sir?
Correct. I had the report. I did not have the data.
Well, didn't Mr. Whiffen's report discuss location in a pretty detailed manner?
Yes, it did.
And didn't he use GPS location data in that report?
Yes, he did.
And you had that in January 4 months ago, correct?
Correct.
And you read it 4 months ago.
Correct.
Yet you still submitted a report on May 8th in the middle of this trial, correct?
Correct.
Are you familiar with a digital forensic analyst named Jessica Hyde?
I am familiar with the name. Yes.
Do you know she's working on this case on behalf of the Commonwealth?
Yes, I think I have heard that in conversations.
Have you read any of her reports?
No, I have not.
So you're aware she's working on the case, but you're not aware of whether she's issued reports in this case.
Correct.
So you're not aware whether she has issued reports that mention about GPS location data, correct?
Correct.
Did you ever ask for her reports?
No, I did not.
Did anybody ever tell you or comment to you whether your analysis is consistent or inconsistent with the reports of Mr. Whiffen or Ms. Hyde?
No.
Did you watch their testimony in this trial?
No, I did not.
Did you learn of their testimony in this trial?
No, I did not.
Did anyone from law enforcement or any other aspect of the Commonwealth provide you with any summary of their testimony?
No, they did not.
But you had access to Mr. Whiffin's report with regard to his analysis and the data from Mr. O'Keefe's cell phone back in January of 2025, correct?
Correct.
Having read Mr. Whiffin's January 2025 report, you know that his report contains statements about movement and other activity of Mr. O'Keefe's phone after your time period in your original report of January 30th, 2025, correct?
No, not after the time period. No.
Let's take a look at that.
Sure.
God, I feel like I'm going to be reading Cora every time I see him. The mic thing, that's got to stop.
Take a look at
It's
your
gotta stop.
January
Alessi, I'm going to put you on the
30th,
prosecution.
2025 report. Well, we'll come back to that. I'll do that in an order that makes a little bit more logical sense. You've mentioned, and just to cover the foundational parts, that you're not the only employee of Aperture that's been hired to testify as a witness on behalf of the Commonwealth in this trial, correct?
Correct.
Your colleague, Judson Welcher, Dr. Judson Welcher, has also been retained by the Commonwealth through Aperture, correct?
That is correct.
Justin Welcher, Dr. Welcher is a biomechanical engineer, correct?
Correct.
Do you know whether Dr. Welcher holds any professional certifications?
I do not know.
Does Dr. Welcher's expertise extend beyond your own?
It is a different discipline than my own. Yes.
So it's a different discipline. So it could be horizontally extended, and it also can be vertically extended depending upon the subject matter.
Sure.
That's a fair statement.
Sure.
Your colleague, Dr. Welcher, who is an engineer, did opine on the timing of the TechStream event 1162-2 in his report of January 30th, 2025, correct?
Objection.
Is this, the objection sustained?
I'll reword it, Your Honor. Do you know whether Dr. Welcher opined on the timing of TechStream event 1162-2 in his January 30th, 2025 report?
Yes.
What is the timing of the TechStream event 1162-2 in the January
Karen would be your dom, mommy?
30th
Yes.
report of
Yes, I do.
Dr. Welcher, your colleague?
Objection.
Only if you're a fun guy.
Type R's.
Alessi's taking this guy to school, which is good because he never finished. So he needs a ride, I guess. Absolutely embarrassing how bad he's getting shredded on the sand. This guy would not, I mean, you don't want to be in his shoes.
You're aware that Dr. Welcher created a PowerPoint presentation with regard to his work in January of 2025, correct?
Correct.
Did you ever discuss that work with Dr. Welcher that he was doing?
No, I did not.
Did you ever review any of his work at any point, including up to the point where you're sitting on the stand today?
I have reviewed the slides that are included in Mr. DeSogra's presentation.
Okay. In the slides that are included in Mr. DeSogra's report include, those slides you're referring to are the slides of Dr. Welcher, your colleague, correct?
Correct.
And the slides that are in Mr. DeSogra's report about Dr. Welcher that slide discusses the 1162-2 TechStream event, correct?
Correct.
So you have looked at, albeit through Mr. DeSogra, you have looked at the slide that Dr. Welcher had in his report regarding the tech stream event 1162.2, correct?
Correct.
May I approach, Your Honor?
Yes,
May I have this marked as the next exhibit for identification, Your Honor?
yes,
Thank you. Thank you. May I present it to the witness?
yes,
Thank you. May I remain here for a few questions?
sure.
Thank you, Your Honor. Mr. Burgess, if
Yes.
you could take a look at what has been marked for identification is AAA, and tell me, once you've had a fair opportunity to look at it, whether you recognize that slide.
Yes, I do recognize that slide.
And sir, what do you recognize that slide as?
So it is a slide that states a number of times associated with text stream event 1162.2, which would be the second event.
And did you consider this exhibit AAA in your preparation of a response to Mr. DeSogra's March 5th, 2025 presentation?
Yes, I did.
I offer this into evidence, Your Honor, AAA for identification.
I'd like to put the whole report in.
Your Honor, I have no need to put the report's 143 pages.
So I'm going to let this in, and I haven't decided yet about the whole 143 pages. Okay?
Fair enough, Your Honor. And I reoffer it into evidence, Your Honor.
Yes.
Why do attorneys need to ask to approach?
Could someone provide
Dedicated
me
to
with
the
that
court.
143 page today, please?
Sorry, what you asking for?
We can-
For a copy for me of that 143 pages before we leave today.
Before we leave, we'll get it, Your Honor.
Thank you.
One way or another. Thank you.
Yes.
You can, please.
Hold on, was it marked?
It's 188.
What number?
Sir, you now have what is in evidence as Exhibit 188 for identification. I draw your attention, and this is the slide that you considered in responding to Mr. DeSogra, correct?
In response to Mr. DeSogra's analysis of this slide, yes, correct.
And this slide, to be clear, is a slide prepared by your colleague at Aperture, Dr. Judson Welcher, correct?
Yes, that is correct.
Sir, could you please read the time that Dr. Welcher states for the when infotainment trigger 1162.2 occurred?
So that would be text stream trigger, just for clarification, but yes, I can.
Well, let's go to that. You use the parlance text stream trigger. Dr. Welcher uses infotainment trigger, but it's 1162.2. You both use 1162.2, correct?
Correct. And I think that may be a misunderstanding of how he's worded it.
Well, Your Honor, I'd actually move to strike that about what Dr. Welcher, I'm just going to what the document says.
I'm just going to leave it, but go on.
Thank you, Your Honor. So the
Thanks.
document says
I'm going to leave it.
that the infotainment
Why?
trigger 1162.2 occurred
No
at
problem
approximately
striking anything else.
12:31:38, correct?
Correct.
And that it ended at 12:31:43, correct?
Correct.
So we've got the trigger, according to Dr. Welcher, as of recently as January 30th, 2025, starting at 12:31:38 and ending at 12:31:43, correct?
Correct. According to the Lexus clock.
Right.
Yes.
So now let's go down to what says below. Per report from Ian Whiffen, O'Keefe's cell phone data showed, quote, most notably, all device lock events, including the final lock event at 12:32:09, were user initiated by the user pressing the side button briefly. You see that, sir?
I do.
And did I read that correctly?
You did, with the caveat that's according to the iPhone clock.
Right, but in any event, that's what Dr. Welcher states on his slide, correct?
Correct.
Do you know, sir, that the iPhone data reported by Mr. Whiffen that you read, that Dr. Welcher references, Do you know that report of Ian Whiffen says there was an end of a health event of 36 steps covering a distance of 84 feet that ended at 12:32:16, which is after 12:31:43?
Yes.
And you know that.
Yes, with the caveat those clocks have not been adjusted.
But you know that there was a end of health event of 36 steps covering a distance of 84 feet that ended at 12:32:16, which is after 12:31:43, correct?
Correct.
Just stating the comparison. So now what I'd like to do is to move on with regard to the analysis. So in Dr. Welcher wrote this, the slide he presented, it's dated January 30th of 2025, correct?
It's not dated here.
It's not dated,
yes.
but do you know that Dr. Welcher created a report of January 30th, 2025?
I do know he created a report.
Right,
Correct.
and that's the same date as your report, correct? Your
Correct.
first report.
Correct.
So you both submitted your reports on the same date. They're both dated the same at least, correct?
Yes, if they're both dated the same, yes.
Yes. Are you familiar with the concept of pocket state in iPhones?
I am familiar through Mr. Whiffen's report.
Okay. You said you've read Mr. Whiffen's report, correct?
Correct.
So you know that Mr. Whiffen states that there was a pocket state detected on the iPhone of Mr. O'Keefe at 12:33:14, correct?
Objection.
So the same, I'm going to strike it, this, do it the same way, Mr. Alessi, okay?
I will, Your Honor. Thank you. Are you aware of whether Mr. Whiffen has put in the report you read a timestamp for detecting pocket states of Mr. O'Keefe? Are you aware of that in the report at all?
I am aware of that in the report, yes.
Do you know when Mr. Whiffen has noted a pocket state detected of Mr. O'Keefe's phone? Do you know?
So, Mr. Alessi, why don't you show it?
That's what I was going to do. I will, Your Honor. And if we could put it up, we've got it, that's already in evidence on the screen.
Okay.
It's already in evidence in screen.
So are you talking about Mr. Whiffen's report or?
Correct. Well, you know what? I'm going to show him the report, Your Honor.
Thank
I'll
you.
do it the way you suggest. Sir, do you recall the specific time that Mr. Whiffen has stated pocket states detected for the phone of Mr. O'Keefe?
No, I have not.
If I showed you a report of Mr. Whiffen, might that refresh your recollection as to when Mr. Whiffen has stated pocket state detected? Would that help?
Yes.
Okay, sir, I'm going to endeavor to do that.
Are you allowed to pull out a little white flag, apologize, and just withdraw your testimony? Nope. Not at all.
What are 2 pages out of the report of Mr. Whiffen that you referenced, and we've been discussing about pocket state.
Sure.
And this one here, if you just read this line, because it's the heading, and then the next page, and tell me, sir, with reference to this entry right here, if that refreshes your recollection with regard to a column of pocket state with regard to the phone of Mr. and whether it refreshes your recollection on any comments Mr. Whiffen made about pocket state.
Objection.
I'm going to see it sidebar for 2 minutes on this. Okay.
So now we've got, this is why this guy should have been voir dired early on. Bev should have allowed them to challenge his testimony. She should not have allowed him to change the timeline or attempt to change the timeline this late in the game. Just for practical purposes of this is insane. This is insane testimony. This guy should not be on the stand. This guy doesn't have He doesn't have a bachelor's degree. Now, I know that having a bachelor's degree doesn't mean that you're automatically smarter or that someone who doesn't have a bachelor's degree is not qualified or capable or whatever. This guy's represented as having a degree. He doesn't have one. It's in an applied science. It's very specialized, requires a lot of math. He just shouldn't be qualified. They got him on the stand to say that the methodology he's used is not peer reviewed. So it lacks scientific reliability. He should be subject to Daubert. He should be excluded as an expert. He does not offer expertise.
Morning, Mr. Burgess.
Morning.
On your direct examination yesterday, your experience was brought up in questions, correct?
Correct.
On your direct examination, your certifications were brought up in questions, correct?
Incorrect.
There was no discussion in your direct examination about having certifications in Celebrite and Magnet Forensic Axiom. Did I mishear?
No, if I misheard your question, it was
I asked about certifications. I'll repeat it, sir,
Sure.
in case I misspoke. On your direct examination, your certifications were brought up in questions, correct?
yes, correct.
However, on your direct examination, no questions were asked of you at all about your supposed education, correct?
Correct.
And
Alessi's
you did not bring up
out
your educational background at all on
Correct.
direct examination, correct?
Correct.
How you feeling today, bud?
A forensic examiner must prioritize accuracy, correct?
Correct.
A forensic examiner
We need a tiny bean counter.
must prioritize reliability, correct?
Correct.
Both are important.
Correct.
It's criminal proceeding we're in, correct?
Correct.
And
Correct.
therefore, accuracy and reliability are especially important in a criminal case as opposed to a civil case, correct?
I think that would be equally important in both, but yes,
But they're certainly important in a criminal case.
correct.
And accuracy and reliability are especially important when seconds and minutes matter as they matter and as you testify to in this case, correct?
Correct.
You testified yesterday that the events on the timeline contained in your PowerPoint presentation that was displayed yesterday and presented to the jury were accurate, your words several times, down to the second, correct?
Correct. For the Lexus, yes.
For the Lexus.
Yes.
You said they were accurate down to the second, correct?
Correct.
Let's take a look at your PowerPoint
Let's take a look at
presentation
this.
that you discussed extensively before the jury yesterday. Mr. Wool, could we please bring up
Execution.
slide
Yeah, I need a haircut.
32
I might go get one today
of
after
the
this.
presentation Mr. Burgess
After this thing.
discussed with the jury yesterday.
Hope you guys
And
caught
Your
my
Honor, with your permission to
little
publish.
recap video yesterday.
Thank you.
It's doing
Mr.
really
Burgess,
well.
pick your screen.
Sure.
Is this a true and accurate
Working on getting those out more
representation
often.
of your
I know-
analysis
I know
of
people like
Miss Reed's Lexus vehicle traveling to
summaries.
34 Fairview Road and the O'Keefe residence?
Yes.
According to your timeline, Miss Reed's vehicle powered on at 12:36 a.m. on January 30th, correct?
Correct.
Now, is your timeline on this slide accurate down to the second, as you stated in your direct examination yesterday?
For the power on and off events, yes.
Yes. Could we go to slide 33, please, Mr. Wolk? And we're going to go through a handful of slides,
Sure.
Mr. Burgess, to just give you a heads up. Is this
Warning.
a true and accurate representation of your analysis of Ms. Reed leaving the O'Keefe's residence at 5:07 a.m.?
Yes, it is.
And according to your timeline, Ms. Reed powered on her vehicle at 5:07:46 a.m. on January 30th, 2022, correct?
Correct.
Is the time on this slide accurate down to the second, as you stated in your direct examination yesterday?
Yes, according to the Lexus, yes.
If we could go, Mr. Woog, to slide 34, please. And these are all your slides, correct, sir?
Correct, they
You
are.
prepared them?
Yes.
Is slide 34 a true and accurate representation of your analysis of Ms. Reed traveling to the Dighton residence at 12:25:01 a.m.? I'm sorry, 12:25:01 p.m.
12:35.
3501. Correct.
I'm sorry. Thank
Yes.
you. 12:35. And according to your analysis, Ms. Reed powered on her vehicle to travel to Dighton at 12:35:01 p.m. on January 30th, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
And is the time on this slide accurate down to the second, as you stated in your direct examination yesterday?
Yes.
Slide 35, please, Mr. Wolf. Is this a true and accurate representation of your analysis of Ms. Reed's vehicle being towed by the Massachusetts police vendor from her parents' residence in Dighton?
Yes, it is.
And pursuant to your timeline that you created here, Ms. Reed's vehicle was powered on at 4:11 p.m. on January 30th, 2022, and towed to the Canton Police Department, correct?
Correct.
Is your timeline on this slide accurate down to the second, as you stated in your direct examination yesterday?
Yes, this timestamp is.
Slide 36, please, Mr. Wolf. Is slide 36 a true and accurate representation of your analysis of Ms. Reed's vehicle arriving at the Canton Police Department?
Yes, it is.
And pursuant to the timeline you created, Ms. Reed's vehicle powered off at 5:36:42 p.m. on January 30th, 2022, correct?
Objection. Objection.
What's the objection?
I'll let him have this.
Okay.
I'll let him have
Is your
this.
analysis down to,
He's asking
is your
about
analysis
the
on
guy's-
slide 36
His document
accurate
that's up on
down
screen.
to the second, as you stated in your direct examination yesterday,
Yes, according to the Lexus, yes.
according to the Lexus?
Yes.
In point of fact, Mr. Burgess, none of the five timelines
None of those are accurate.
that we just reviewed from your presentation are accurate at all, and certainly not down to the second. Am I right or am I wrong?
You are wrong.
Are you aware, and if we could go back to the first slide,
You are wrong.
which is
Okay.
slide 32,
Always
and we'll
bold.
look at each of them quickly.
Sure.
Are you aware that all of the relevant events in the timeline you described in your presentation in these slides actually occurred on January 29th, 2022, not January 30th, 2022? Do you know that?
This is January 30th, 2022.
That's what you-
January 29th, correct.
It's January 29th, 2022. And in terms of January 30th, I want to go back and make sure it's very, very clear. In your presentation, they actually occurred on January 29th, 2022, correct?
The night of the incident, yes.
Can I have a moment, Your Honor, please?
Yes.
Thank you. Mr. Burgess, once that timeline crosses into midnight, it's January 30th, not January 29th, correct?
Correct. Yes, it is January 30th. Yes.
So in actuality, these 5 timelines, as you testified to them yesterday, are not accurate down to the second, correct? Because you got the wrong date.
Well, parlance, yes, but yes, they are still accurate to the second.
But the date, these 5 timelines, let's pursue this. These 5 timelines are exactly 24 hours off from the time where the event actually occurred, correct?
No. So these events occurred on January 30th. If I misspoke and said the 29th, yes.
Okay. You understand my point?
Yes, I do.
The core basis of your job, your role in this case, is to reconcile time discrepancies, as you say, down to the second, correct?
Correct.
But your discussion of the timeline on each of these slides, on each of these key events, is incorrect, correct?
No, it's not incorrect.
So your discussion of the applicable date, you're saying, as you described it yesterday and interpreted this timeline, was correct? Is that what you're saying now?
This timeline is correct.
But
yes.
my question is your discussion of it yesterday.
If I misspoke and said the 29th, then yes, I misspoke on that. Yes.
And that was your testimony yesterday, what you spoke about.
Yes.
Let's turn to a different topic.
I think that kind of fizzled out there at the end.
And thank you for taking that down, Mr. Wolf. Your actually, to mitigate the inconsistencies that you analyzed yesterday between independent clocks, am I correct that your position is that forensic methodology recommends cross-referencing timestamps from multiple sources to identify discrepancies, and when possible, leveraging time anchors, events that contain both a system timestamp and an external physical event to identify and correct timing discrepancies? Do I have that right?
Yes, you did.
Yesterday, we talked about the scientific method. You recall that, sir?
I do.
And how it's designed to prevent bias from infecting the analysis. You recall that as well?
Yes, I do.
And yesterday, you agreed that experts should never selectively gather and interpret evidence to confirm a pre-existing belief while neglecting evidence that contradicts those beliefs, correct?
Correct.
And doing that is called confirmation bias, which you said you understood yesterday, right?
That is correct.
That would be improper to do that, correct?
How about retardation bias?
It would raise the specter, if not the reality, of unreliability if that occurred, correct?
It could, yes.
And it could also lead into errors in forensic analyses, correct?
Correct.
Let's take a look at your January 30th report, sir.
Okay.
And this is your first report, your second report being the May 8th report. In your January 30th report, you did not issue any opinion or conclusion with regard to the timing of what you call the text stream event 11/62/2 in your January 30th report, did you?
No, I did not.
You didn't even mention either the phrase text stream event or the phrase 11/62/2 in your January 30, 2025 report, did you?
No, I did not.
But in that January 30, 2025 report, you did evaluate the variance between the Lexus infotainment system on the one hand and Mr. O'Keefe's iPhone data on the other, correct?
Correct.
Correct.
In fact, in that report, the January 30th report, you compared the call logs on Miss Reed's Lexus infotainment system with the call logs on Mr. O'Keefe's iPhone in order to evaluate whether there was a variance, correct?
Correct.
And do I have it correct in your report that it's the position that the timestamp call log data, specifically the recorded calls between Miss Reed and Mr. O'Keefe, along with the infotainment power event logs, were analyzed for what you called clock skew by cross-referencing them against other independent data sources, right?
No, so that would have been comparing the timestamps from Mr. O'Keefe's iPhone with the timestamps from the defendant's Lexus.
Right.
Correct. Yes.
Yes. Right. To Miss Reed's Lexus.
Correct.
And a forensic comparison of these data sets was aimed to identify timestamp discrepancies, correct?
Correct.
To identify potential clock skew, correct?
Correct.
And potential clock drift that could impact event reconstruction, correct?
Correct.
All this stated in your January 30th report, right?
Correct.
Oh my God. Alessi with the mic issues is killing me. Literally, my ears, my poor supple ears. Oh,
Your Honor, may I have this marked as the next exhibit in order for identification?
Yes.
May I present to the witness, Your Honor?
Yes.
Thank you. Mr. Burgess, I am presenting to you what has been marked as Exhibit BBB for identification. I'd ask you to take a look at it, sir, and then pick your head up when you've had a fair opportunity to take a look at it.
Okay. Sure.
Do you recognize that document, sir?
I do.
May I reapproach, Your Honor?
Yes.
Thank you.
go online on man.
What do you recognize
What do you
that
mean?
document to be, sir?
Sure. So this is a graph that I put together that is comparing timestamps, call timestamps from the infotainment module with Mr. O'Keefe's iPhone.
And is that Exhibit BBB for identification in your January 30, 2025 report?
Yes, it is.
And did you create that chart that is depicted in Exhibit BBB for identification?
Yes, I did.
And is that a fair and accurate representation of the information that you discussed in page 33 of your January 30, 2025 report?
Yes, it is.
I offer Exhibit BBB for identification into evidence, Your Honor.
If we can introduce the whole report to put it in
Why don't I
context.
see you at sidebar?
Sidebar. Bev to the rescue. Save them, Bev. Save the state. Ah!
Mr. Burgess, I am represented to
Hold on, we
you
gotta
as now Exhibit
see if I can-
189 in evidence. Ask you to
Taking up
once
too much
again
space. I don't like
take
it.
a look at it, and if you need further time, please take it, sir, and then pick up your head when you've had a fair opportunity to look at that document.
Okay.
Despite claiming the purpose in your January 30 report of, quote, identifying timestamp discrepancies, potential clock skew, and clock drift, you did not
I'll put this in a different spot. I don't want it
the
to
time
cover
of
the
three-point
closed captions.
turn between the infotainment system in the Lexus SUV and Mr. O'Keefe's phone, did you?
Not at that time. No.
Instead, you identified the potential variance by analyzing various calls on the infotainment system of the Lexus versus Mr. O'Keefe's phone, correct?
Correct.
You can drag and drop closed captions. Well, that's cool.
This data,
Let's do that.
this data in that exhibit captures a precise moment in time that is easily compared between the two devices, correct?
Correct, it does.
Mr. Wolk, Your Honor, may Mr. Wolk please publish this exhibit?
Okay,
There we go. That should cover it.
So this data, just to
Hey, thanks for the tip. That's
reestablish,
cool.
captures a precise moment in time that's easily compared between the two devices, correct?
Correct.
Now, according to your own table, there are potential
I have a weird idea of
offsets
cool. I know.
of reading in the far right-hand column. 2 seconds. 1 second, 2 seconds, 1 second, 8 seconds, 16 seconds, and 21 seconds, correct?
Correct.
And yet,
Button,
you
button.
failed
Who's
to
got a
apply
button?
this variance to the infotainment time on the Lexus associated with the text stream event 1162.2, correct?
Correct. May I explain?
I will proceed along. I'm sure if Mr. Brennan has questions and wants you to explain, he may choose to do that. This is simple arithmetic, is it not? It's either an addition or a subtraction, the offset, correct?
Correct.
And yet, in your initial report on January 30th, 2025, you did not take that final analytical step, did you?
No, because these clock variances do not apply to that time frame.
But you didn't take, you know what analytical step I'm talking about, correct?
No, I don't. I don't
All right.
believe so.
We'll come back to it. I want to go focus on your opinion. What you did do, as I understand it, in your January 30th report. So in your opinion, we can leave that up for a moment, please, because I want to see if we need to show the contrast. With your Honor's permission, can we leave it up just a little bit longer?
yes.
Thank you. In opinion number 5, and please feel free to look at your January 30th report,
Sure.
you indicated only this. The difference between the Lexus infotainment and Mr. O'Keefe's cell phone ranged between 8 seconds and 16 to 21 seconds during the period between 5:21:36 a.m. and 5:30:31 a.m. on January 29, 2022. Do I have that correct?
Yes, between 5:21 and 5:30 a.m.
Yes. Now what I'd like to do is, and we can take that down. Thank you, Mr. Wolf. Let's talk about what information you learned after you issued your January 30, 2025 report. Or at the time of that report, you received and reviewed a copy of a portion of your colleague's slide presentation and report at Aperture, Dr. Judson Welcher, correct?
From a presentation by Mr. DeSogra. Yes.
Well,
Correct.
I understand you want to add Mr. DeSogra. My question
Objection.
is,
Sustained.
okay, yes, Your Honor, thank you. I'm focusing on what would you like to call it? Do you call it a slide presentation you prefer, Dr. Welcher?
Sure. We can.
I want
we
to
can
use
call it-
whatever parlance you're comfortable with.
Yeah, slide's fine. Yeah.
Slide. So the slide presentation of Dr. Welcher that he submitted the same day you submitted your report on January 30, 2025. And in that, he analyzed the timing of the 1162.2, what he calls an infotainment event, you call a text stream event, correct?
Well, could I see the slide we're talking about to clarify?
Absolutely. Could we publish what is in evidence? It was 188.
Okay,
You're aware that according to Dr. Welcher's analysis, as depicted in this slide in evidence, the 1162-2, what he calls an infotainment trigger that you call a text stream event, right?
Correct.
The 1162-2 text stream event occurred at 12:31:38 a.m. on January 29, 2022, correct?
Correct.
And that's when it began, right?
That's when the trigger threshold was met. Yes.
That's when the trigger threshold was met.
correct.
You also testified yesterday that you reviewed Mr. Whiffen, Mr. Ian Whiffen's January report, which established a timeline of the last interactive events on Mr. O'Keefe's phone, correct?
Correct.
Your Honor, could we please publish Exhibit 39, which is in evidence?
Okay.
And if we could go to slide 82 and have 83 available, if we can enlarge the applicable sections. And what I'm going to ask you, Mr. Burgess, is to see whether these events are consistent with your memory of what the applicable events are. Do you see the column biometric device unlock with Face ID event at 12:32:04 a.m.?
Yes.
Now that's after the 12:31:38 a.m. 11:62:2 text stream event that's in Mr. Welcher's slide, correct, that we just saw?
Correct. The unadjusted Lexus clock. Yes. Timestamp. Yes.
So, but I'm going to repeat the question. The 12:32:04 a.m. device unlock with Face ID event is after the 12:31:38 and 12:31:43 11:62:2 text stream event that is stated in Dr. Welcher's report, correct?
Correct.
Now, do you see the lock event which occurred at 12:32:09?
Yes, I do.
That is also after the 12:31:38 to 12:31:43 text stream event, correct?
Yes, the unadjusted time.
That 12:32:09 a.m. lock event is after the 12:31:38 to 12:31:43 range that is stated in Dr. Welcher's report, correct?
Correct. From the Lexus clock.
So if we could go back, and we're going to toggle back with Your Honor's permission between these two slides for the next couple questions. If we can go back to an enlarged Dr. Welcher's slide. That 12:31:38 to 12:31:43 time period is what your colleague, the licensed engineer, Dr. Welcher, chose and his slide analysis as the last user interaction, according to him, on John O'Keefe's phone, correct? That's what he chose.
Yes, the 12:32:09. Yes.
Now, but even Mr. Whiffen's report establishes additional activity on Mr. O'Keefe's phone after the event chosen by Dr. Welcher, correct?
Correct.
And in fact, Mr. Whiffen identifies a quote lock event that occurred 26 seconds after the 1162-2 text stream event identified by Dr. Welcher at 12:31:38 to 12:31:43, correct?
Correct. Using the unadjusted clock.
The unadjusted clock. Oh, well, we get to use
I
the
would
adjusted
like-
clock. Or
Does
we get to just
Dr.
make up what the
Welcher at
results
all
are.
use the words unadjusted clock in his slide, sir?
No, he does not.
Okay, what I'd like to do is ask you a question about whether, in fact, Mr. Whiffen identifies a lock event that occurred 26 seconds after the 1162-2 text stream event at 12:31:38 to 12:43, as stated in your colleague's report, Dr. Welcher, the slide presentation. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Do you know whether a lock event on an iPhone requires human interaction?
Typically, yes, it would.
Is it just typically, or does it?
Well, it does. And in this case specifically, I believe it was via the lock button.
Correct. But this specific instance, the lock, it requires somebody, a human being, to actually press a button on the side, correct?
Unless it's auto locking, yes, it requires a button press. Yes.
Do you have any reason to believe that the iPhone of Mr. O'Keefe had an auto locking function on it, sir?
No, as I said, he used the lock button.
Right. If we can enlarge that, do you see the end of health event 36 steps that we talked yesterday that was covering a distance of over 84 feet? Do you see that occurring at 12:32:16 a.m.?
I don't believe we talked about that yesterday, but yes, I do see
Do you
that.
see it?
I do. Yes.
And that's also after the 12:31:38 to 12:31:43 text stream event identified by your colleague, the licensed engineer, Dr. Welcher, in his slide, correct?
Correct.
Now, finally, do you see the entry pocket state detected at 12:33:14 a.m.? You see that, sir? Do you know what a pocket state is, sir?
I do know what a pocket state is.
Do you know when the pocket states occurred on the iPhone of John O'Keefe pursuant to your analysis of his phone?
I do not.
You didn't analyze pocket state detections on Mr. O'Keefe's phone?
No, I did not personally.
Do you believe pocket state detected data? Well, let me just go back and confirm. So you didn't analyze with any source pocket state detection information with regard to Mr. O'Keefe's phone. Is that correct?
That's correct.
So let's go back and summarize for each of the ones you did look at and analyze that you just testified. Every single one of those that we just discussed, those user interaction events, occurred after Dr. Welcher claims a collision occurred as represented in a text stream event of 11:62:2 at 12:31:38 to 12:31:43, correct?
Objection.
Do you understand? If we can go back, please, to Dr. Welcher's slide. Highlight the text again, please, Mr. Wolf. Do you understand that Dr. Welcher is correlating the infotainment trigger 11:62:2 with an alleged collision? Do you understand that?
Objection.
Let's come to sidebar, please.
It's amazing how your numbers are accurate down to the second. when you make them up, when you just are like, oh, well, there's a variance here and it's somewhere between 21 and 29 seconds. So when we adjust for the time to whatever the hell I want it to be, it's 100% accurate. It's like, so this guy's a doctor of what he does. He actually has the education. He actually has the experience, the one that you are trying to latch onto with a falsehood. And his analysis is completely different than yours. Like, no, but mine's right. What? Why? What makes it right?
You have reviewed this slide and this specific data in this slide previously, correct?
Correct.
And I just want to, Mr. Wolk, just go back to the slide so we're clear on what this is. So this slide here is what you're speaking about, right?
Correct.
And you've reviewed this slide prior to your testimony in this court, correct?
Correct.
And you considered this slide as part of your analyses that you have performed and testified about, correct?
Yes, I have.
What he calls an infotainment event, which you call a text stream event, in the range of 12:31:38 to 12:31:43, correct?
I would agree that yes.
So the answer is yes?
With the caveat.
I'm sorry, I didn't know you hadn't finished.
Sure.
Please finish your answer.
Yes, with the caveat that user interaction only applies to the device lock, steps, and the pocket state are not duplicative of user interaction per se.
Let's just assume that is the case. Let's then just focus on what you consider to be a user interaction, which is device lock, correct?
Correct.
In that event lock, even according to Dr. Welcher's own words in his own slide, occurs 20 seconds after the end of the text stream event 11:62:2, correct?
Of the unadjusted clock, yes.
May I have a moment, Your Honor?
Yes, do you want the lights on, Mr. Alessi?
I'm going to keep that up. And so to repeat to alter it, hopefully make it a little clearer. So according to Dr. Welcher, the licensed engineers, your colleague at Aperture, his slide that he has here, the last O'Keefe cell phone event, the lock, occurred within approximately 26 seconds after the end of the text stream event dubbed 11:62:2. That's what's stated there, correct?
Correct, according to the unadjusted clock.
You keep adding according to the unadjusted clock, but do the words according to the unadjusted clock appear anywhere in that slide, sir?
No, they do not.
Yesterday, you stated that you reviewed a presentation by another expert, Mr. DeSogra, who
An actual
reviewed
expert.
the findings of your January 30th report. Do you recall that, sir?
Yes, I do.
In fact, in your May 8, 2025 report, your second report, your first being the January 30th report, you only cite 2 new sources of data that you reviewed before making your conclusions, correct?
Correct.
May I approach, Your Honor?
Yes.
I would just hammer on actual experts over and over and over again.
Sure.
I'm going to present to you 2 documents, each of which is marked for identification. The first is Exhibit CCC for identification. That is one slide out of what is marked as Exhibit DDD for identification. And Exhibit CCC is one page out of Exhibit DDD for identification. And I'd ask you, sir, to take a look at those documents and reference either one. Let me know, sir, when you've had a fair opportunity to review those documents.
What happened that made Bronca stop streaming here with Nick? Well, he went to cover another trial.
Sir,
that's
can you please
more in his wheelhouse.
read the
didn't really
exhibit
care for this one.
designation on the entire slide presentation?
On DDD,
Pardon me?
on exhibit DDD.
And that's triple D as in David.
Correct.
So in exhibit DDD, is that the March 5, 2005 PowerPoint presentation of Mr. DeSogra that you spoke about extensively yesterday?
Yes, it is.
And sir, before you came to court yesterday, did you review and consider the exhibit DDD for identification?
Yes, I did.
And as a matter of fact, you spent considerable time with regard to exhibit DDD before you came to court yesterday.
Correct.
And in addition, isn't it the case that your testimony yesterday is that exhibit DDD, the March 5, 2025 slide presentation of Mr. DeSogra, was part of the reason why you created your May 8th, 2025 report, correct?
Correct.
May I approach, Your Honor?
Yes.
Your Honor, I offer exhibit DDD, exhibit CCC into evidence and do not offer exhibit DDD at this time.
Okay. The witness just spoke of DDD. So why don't you have him just say what CCC is before we put it in?
I will do so, Your Honor. Thank you. Mr. Burgess, is exhibit CCC a slide page out of exhibit DDD?
Yes, it is.
Okay, now it'll.
Thank you for that, Your Honor. I now offer exhibit CCC for identification into evidence.
Yes.
Thank you. And I also hand back to Madam Court Reporter exhibit DDD for identification.
Exhibit 190.
And sir, do you have before you read the three letters, please, just so we're on the same page in that exhibit?
Jim, we need the
That
other
the
one.
one that's in
Thank you.
the one page?
Yes. Exhibit 190.
And that's the entitled All Possible Combinations?
Yes, it is.
So we'll refer to that as exhibit 190, okay?
Okay.
Have you had a fair opportunity to refresh yourself on that one-page chart?
Yes, I have.
Your Honor, may I please publish exhibit 190?
Yes.
And if we could enlarge it without, I think, Mr. Wolk, we can obscure for the moment the all positive on the right and come back to that as needed. Now, Mr. DeSogra, who is an expert for the defense, took the data points you evaluated in your January 30, 2025 report and simply performed the last step in your analysis that I was referring to in previous slides, correct?
Correct. For a lot of data points that do not apply for the time of the accident.
I understand you may have a view as to whether they apply or not. I'm just trying to understand
Objection.
what you understood he did.
Again,
I'll
we'll-
repeat. Yeah, yes,
so
Your
we'll
Honor.
strike the comment part and just a
I'll
question,
repeat and
please.
just go to the question.
Bev is a judge that needs to be handled.
So
and the
you
defense is
understand
handling her
that
pretty
Mr.
well.
DeSogra took the data points that you evaluated in your January 30, 2025 report and simply performed the last step in your analysis, correct?
In my report, in addition to Dr. Welcher's.
Right. In addition to Dr.
Oh,
Correct.
my God, Alessi,
Now, what I
killing
want to
me.
do is just elucidate the columns and their meaning. So the column on the right equals the number of seconds, and it's the far right, the number of seconds between the end of the 11:62:2 text stream event that in the slide of Dr. Welcher is ending at 12:31:43 and the lock event on Mr. O'Keefe's phone that's occurred at 12:32:09, correct?
Correct.
And that's your understanding of that column as well.
Correct.
Now, even taking your colleague Dr. Welcher's assumption that the last user interaction on Mr. O'Keefe's phone occurred at 12:32:09 a.m. on January 29, 2022, is Mr. DeSogra demonstrating in this chart that by using the clock variance that you calculated in your January 30 report, there are no circumstances where the trigger event of 11:62:2 occurs before the lock event on Mr. O'Keefe's phone?
Objection.
After.
Sustained. There's one part of your question that needs to
Okay.
be omitted.
In terms of this chart, do you agree that the methodology and application of it of Mr. DeSogra is that Mr. DeSogra took the last user interaction data point of Dr. Welcher in his slide of 12:32:09 and applied the clock variance that you calculated in your January 30th report? Do you agree that that's what Mr. DeSogra did?
No, I do not.
What do you believe Mr. DeSogra did here?
Well, so the math is correct. So when he's trying to adjust clock variances between the two devices, that math is correct, but he's applying incorrect adjustments.
I understand, but what I'm trying to get at is just what you understood Mr. DeSogra did in this chart.
Correct. I did understand, yes, what he
Okay.
was trying to do.
And so do you agree, based upon what Mr. DeSogra did as represented in this chart, there are no circumstances where the 11:62:2 text stream event occurs? Well, let me have you describe what you believe Mr. DeSogra is doing with regard to comparing, based upon this chart, the 11:62:2 text stream event of Dr. Welcher with the lock event on Mr. O'Keefe's phone.
Sure. So he's trying to adjust the clock from the Lexus to the Mr. O'Keefe's iPhone clock, but he does that inaccurately.
Well, I understand you have I understand your comment. My question, sir, is this. What do you understand Mr. DeSogra is doing with regard to this chart? Do you understand what he is doing in this chart?
Correct.
I'd just like you to state what it is you understand he is doing.
Sure. So he's trying to adjust timestamps.
He's trying to adjust timestamps. In adjusting timestamps, do you agree that Mr. DeSogra makes the point with this chart that there are no circumstances where the 11:62 trigger occurs before the lock event on John O'Keefe's phone?
Objection.
Sustained.
Can I have a moment, Your Honor?
Sure.
Oh,
Let me see if I can clarify this in this my question.
Sure.
Do you understand that what Mr. DeSogra is doing in this chart is he is showing numerically and arithmetically that there are no circumstances where the text stream event 11:62:2 occurs after the lock event on Mr. O'Keefe's phone?
Objection.
I'm going to allow it in that form.
So yes, I understand he's trying to show that.
Right. Well, he did more than try. Isn't that what he, by his math, that he is demonstrating?
I'm going to allow that.
Yes, but it is inaccurate.
I understand, but that's, again, the question is that what he demonstrates using this chart?
Yes.
And what he demonstrates is that Mr. Tsoga demonstrates that there are no circumstances where the 1162-2 trigger event occurs after the lock event on Mr. O'Keefe's phone, correct?
Yes, inaccurately.
So
Inaccurately.
I'm asking what Mr. DeSogra demonstrates in this report, and isn't it correct that Mr. DeSogra, using this math, Mr. DeSogra demonstrates and concludes that there are no circumstances where the 1162-2 text stream event occurs after the lock event on Mr. O'Keefe's phone?
Objection.
I'm going to allow that. Does that demonstrate that?
Yes, inaccurately.
He's just
Okay.
So let's-
I'm going to
inaccurate.
move on, Your Honor. I'm going to move on.
It's inaccurate. It's inaccurate. How?
And this methodology and approach of Mr. DeSogra is simply math that he's using, correct?
No, it's not simply math.
Oh.
Well, let's go to the clock variance values in the middle column on that chart. You see that, sir?
Yes, I do.
Those are, as of March 5 of the date of this, that this column was created, nothing in that middle column is new, is it? That data.
Yes, some of that data is new.
Well, the source data upon which it is created is not new, is it?
No, it is not.
All right. So the source data of that column, it's not new.
Correct.
And the middle column uses your data points from your January 30th report, correct?
No, not all of those are.
But it does use some of the data from your January 30 report, correct?
Yes, it does.
Is the reason that you did not take that final analytical step that we've been talking about in your January 30th report, and this is a question, is the reason you failed to take that final analytical final analytic step we've been talking about in your January 30 report was because you knew if you did that if you calculated the actual time of the 1162-2 text stream event based upon your own methodological analysis of the clock skew, there would always be continued interaction on Mr. O'Keefe's phone after the text stream event.
No.
So you deny that.
Yes.
Did you keep your January 30, 2025 report purposefully vague by merely noting a clock skew without engaging in any further analysis, such as tethering that clock skew or otherwise connecting it to the text stream event in Dr. Welcher's slide presentation?
No, I did not.
Switch to another topic. Take that down. Thank you, Mr. Vogt. After reviewing, and I'm going to identify 3 timelines. After reviewing the timelines, the timelines presented by Dr. Welcher, 1, Mr. DeSogra, 2, and Mr. Ian Whiffen, 3, all of which established that the 1162-2 text stream event occurred before that last user activity, the lock on Mr. O'Keefe's phone, you then decided to issue a new report that would become dated May 8th, 2025, correct?
Objection.
I'm going to allow that.
No, so I issued the supplemental report based on that presentation that you just had up.
Well, before you issued that report, isn't it correct that you had reviewed the time data of Dr. Welcher in the slide that we've been reviewing?
Not before that time, no.
You had not looked at Dr. Welcher's slide with a text stream event 1162.2 and a time for that before issuing your May 8th report?
No, yes, before sorry, misheard you. Yes.
That's my question.
Yes.
So let me just ask it through a question.
Sure.
So it is correct that before you issued your May 8th, 2025 report, that you had reviewed that slide of your colleague, Dr. Welcher, on 1162.2 that establishes the text stream event as 12:31:38 to 12:31:43, correct?
Correct.
You reviewed it before your May 8th report.
Yes.
You
yes.
also reviewed before your May 8th report the slide presentation of Mr. DeSogra, correct?
Yes, I did.
And before you issued your May 8th, 2025 report, you also had reviewed the January 2025 report of Mr. Whiffen, correct?
Correct.
Each one of and all of those three established that the 1162.2 text stream event occurred before the last user activity on Mr. O'Keefe's phone, correct?
Why is that an
I'm
objection?
going to allow it if that's what, let's see what the answer is.
Using either unadjusted timestamps or inaccurately adjusted timestamps. Yes.
Let me ask my question again, and if it's not clear, please let me know.
Sure.
Again, if you just make up the fact, like, well, I just adjust the time.
After reviewing what we've
I
discussed,
wanted to say
prepared by
something
Dr.
different,
Welcher, Mr.
so I
DeSogra,
just
and Ian
changed it.
Whiffen, each and all of which established that the 1162.2 text stream event occurred before the last user activity on Mr. O'Keefe's phone. You then decided to issue a new report that would become dated May 8th, 2025. Is that statement I just made correct?
Yes, that is correct.
Now let's take a look at your May 8th, 2025 report.
I love that he tamed down the island up front a little bit. You can imagine
You
he's in the bathroom
departed
swirling
in
it
your
around.
May 8th, 2000. Sir, do you have that report in
I
front
do.
of you?
Yes.
Do you need a moment to look at it, or are you ready to take
No,
questions?
go ahead.
Thank you. You departed from your analysis. Let's start it this way. In this May 8th, 2025 report, you departed from your analysis in your January 2025 report to reach a conclusion that would attempt to put the 1162.2 text stream event after human interaction with Mr. O'Keefe's phone, correct?
No, I did not depart from my original report. I clarified.
Okay. So you didn't depart from it, but you, in your May 8th report, but your position is you clarified it.
Correct.
But isn't it correct that in your January 30, 2025 report, you did not address at all whether the 1162.2 text stream event occurred before or after the last user event on Mr. O'Keefe's phone, correct?
Correct.
But you did that in your May 8th report, correct?
Correct.
You don't call that a change, sir?
No, sir, I do not.
You call that a clarification.
I do.
Let me change the data
In your
clearly.
January 2025 report,
Why is this
you
guy on the
compared
stand?
call log
God, it's
entries
pissing me
between
off.
the infotainment system on the Lexus and Mr. O'Keefe's iPhone to determine a potential variance, correct?
Correct.
And call logs are discrete points in time that are fairly easy to compare.
Correct.
Now, in your May 8th, 2025 report, you abandoned the call log analysis from your January 30th, 2025 report, correct?
No, I did not abandon it.
But you did depart from it, at least in some respects, correct?
I did not depart from it. I used another method.
Okay. So you used another method.
Correct.
In your May 8th, 2025 report, you opined, as I understand it, that the call log variance has been ignored because, in your words, this offset is measured approximately 5 hours after the time of the alleged collision and cannot be assumed to apply to other timeframes as stated in the initial report. Do I have that right?
Yes.
Now, please show the juror in your January 30 report where you ever made that statement.
Sure. So it's not worded exactly like that, but that would be in conclusion 5.
And conclusion number 5 is on page 37 of your January 30, 2025 report, correct?
Correct.
And you concede at least as much that at least different words are used in paragraph 5 in your January 30th, 2025 report, correct? And your position is that it's the same statement as in your May 8th, 2025 report? Because that's my question.
That is correct.
In your May 8th, 2025 report, instead of applying the offsets from the call logs, which are discrete points in time that are fairly easy to compare, as you stated just moments ago, you decided to use, in your words, quote, approximate time of the 3-point turn as your anchor between the two devices. Do I have that right?
Yes, you do.
Isn't what you did and we
Hey,
just
by the way,
discussed
slap the like
a
button, guys.
classic
Helps
example of confirmation bias, which is to be avoided in science?
No, it is not.
No, it's not.
So you believe
I mean, that's
that
what he was gonna
that
say.
is not confirmation bias.
No.
Choosing the 3-point
A
turn
post
as
facto
the independent
adjustment
data source
Of the
is the
time,
only
your narrative
way
is
you could ever
definitively
get
confirmation
the
bias.
text stream event to even possibly occur after the lock event on Mr. O'Keefe's phone, correct?
That adjustment is the only adjustment that can be applied due to the data. Yes.
And that adjustment is the only thing that can be done to get the text stream event 1162.2 to occur after the lock on Mr. O'Keefe's phone, correct?
Correct.
And that only one is the one that you chose, correct?
Correct.
And that's only because it's not a pinpoint in time. It's an amorphous range that can only, in your words, be approximated, correct?
No, that is because it is the only time adjustment in that time range that can be applied.
So it's your view that that's the only one that can be applied, but it is even what you're using is, in your words, an approximate time, correct?
Correct.
Isn't the shortcoming, sir, in your analysis that you ignored the additional user activity on Mr. O'Keefe's device that occurred after the lock event?
Can you repeat that question?
Yes, I can. isn't the shortcoming in your analysis, sir, that your analysis ignores the additional user activity on John O'Keefe's device, his cell phone, that occurred after the lock event?
No.
Well, let's take a look at events that, you tell me if I'm correct or not, occur after the text stream event 1162.2.
Sure.
So do you recall our discussion yesterday about the Apple Health data event of 36 steps covering a distance of over 84 feet? Do you recall that?
Yes, I do.
And do you recall that occurred?
How much do you want to ignore that?
32:16.
Yes, I do.
Did Hank Brennan
That's
send you nudes?
after the text stream event of
Cor-
Dr. Welcher that he put in his slide, correct?
Correct.
Do you also recall a Doppler pocket state detection at 12:33:14? Do you recall that?
Yes, I do.
And that is almost an entire minute after the 1162.2 text stream event that is identified by your colleague, the licensed engineer, Dr. Welcher, in his slide presentation, correct?
Correct. And neither one of those are user interaction.
I understand but let's just take one of them.
Sure.
And that is the Apple Health data event of 36 steps covering a distance of 84 feet at 12:32:16. Would you agree that those steps covering that distance is human activity at least? Would you agree that's human activity?
Yes.
Thank you. Let's take a look at opinion number 7 in your initial January 30th, 2025 report.
The ear rape.
And
Oh
sir,
my
tell me when
gosh.
you had a fair opportunity to locate that.
Okay.
You concluded to a reasonable degree of scientific certainty that, quote, the infotainment module power on events were on average recorded 3 seconds after the ignition release or finger off, correct?
Correct.
That means that your own testing requires an offset of -3 to account for a delay in the power on of an infotainment system, correct?
Correct.
That increases the time between the text stream event 1162.2 and the iPhone lock event by 3 seconds, correct?
Correct.
You testified about this same 3-second discrepancy yesterday during your direct examination in connection with your January 30, 2025 report, correct?
Correct.
However,
However,
you did not mention this offset of 3 seconds in your May 8th, 2025 report, did you?
No, I did not. Can I explain?
Mr. Brennan may have questions for you with regard to that. So nowhere in your May 8, 2025 report did you include the 3-second offset that you discussed in your January 30, 2025 report, did you?
Correct.
And in fact, sir, nowhere in your May 8th report do you even discuss why you're not addressing that 3-second. Do you?
I do not discuss it, but it is that offset is adjusted within the adjustment that we do with the 3-point turn.
I understand. My question is simply, there's no discussion in your May 8, 2025 report how or why you're not discussing that 3-second offset, correct?
Correct.
I've got a next section, Your Honor, if you would like me to move into it.
So why don't we keep going?
Okay. Sir, a text stream data event like 1162.2 does not, well, let me back up this way. You testified on direct that you're involved in
Jay, we've got that
reconstruction. That's part
emoji.
of the work that you do, sir?
No, that is not part of the work that I do.
Well, let me clarify then. Do you at all
Found the hair island emoji. I'm dying.
understand whether there's an issue as to whether a collision actually occurred in this case? Do you understand if that's an issue?
Objection.
Sustain.
Sir, do you have any understanding about what Dr. Welcher in his slide presentation was addressing in context with this case? Do you understand it?
Objection.
I'll allow a yes or no on that.
No, I do not.
So you have no idea what your colleague, Dr. Welcher, who's working on the same case, was addressing in his slide presentation?
Generally, yes, but I cannot speak to it.
What do you generally understand?
Objection.
Sustain.
What understanding do you have after reading Dr. Welcher's slide presentation?
Objection.
Sustained. Ask it to.
Do
Sustained.
you have any understanding? Can we approach, Your Honor?
Sure.
Your Honor, how are you going to let me ask a question? Can you just tell me what you need me to say? What magic words for the question that I'm obviously trying to ask? Can you just tell me what prefatory clause you need? Gosh, she's insufferably shitty as a judge. He's laying foundation for all these questions. They're not hearsay. What's her problem? Oh, she doesn't want him to go down this line of questioning because she should have had this alleged expert voir dired and they could have shredded him beforehand. He shouldn't be testifying. He shouldn't be in the courtroom. He shouldn't be in the state. He should be in the fucking sea.
I would like to go back to the line of questioning I was starting, and that is I would like to
thank you.
discuss with you, and I'll start with your conclusion. And I'm going to reference your May 8th, 2025 report, sir. If you could turn to the conclusion section of your report, which is on page 7. And I'm going to start with, and I may just end with, we'll see, conclusion number 1. Please take a fair opportunity to read that. Pick your head up when you have concluded that fair reading.
We may only ask you one question. Oh, no. No.
Okay.
Now, that paragraph 1 states, under conclusions, you say the following can be stated to a reasonable degree of scientific certainty. 1, as noted in my initial report, the only call logs that can be used to compare and synchronize the clocks between Ms. Reed's Lexus and Mr. O'Keefe's iPhone are those occurring between 5:21 a.m. and 5:30 a.m., which occur approximately 5 hours after the collision. You see that, sir?
I do, yes.
Now, what I'd like you to do is to go back in your report.
Same report?
Yes, sir, same report, May 8th. And I'd like you to turn to page 3.
Okay.
And if you could go to the 4th full paragraph that begins with 2 events near the time. And let me know, sir, when you're there. And if you could read that paragraph, pick your head up after you've had a fair opportunity to read it.
Okay.
Thank you. Now, You state two events near the time of the collision were recorded by the Lexus system as identified by Dr. Welcher and referenced by Mr. DeSogra. The first event, labeled TechStream Event 1162-1, is associated with a three-point turn on Cedar Crest Road. The second event, labeled TechStream Event 1162-2, is associated with a reverse maneuver on Fairview Road. These events will be referenced below for clock synchronization analysis. The timestamps associated with these two events are based on a combination of the Lexus infotainment power on event and TechStream time count. Did I read that correctly, sir?
Yes, you did.
So in the same paragraph, am I correct that you're discussing a couple of TechStream events, 1162-1 and 1162-2?
Yes.
And you are talking about that TechStream event in the same paragraph as you're talking about an alleged collision, correct?
Correct.
And in your paragraph of your conclusion that we were referencing, conclusion 1, is this paragraph part of the basis for that conclusion 1? Is this sort of like some predicate analysis for conclusion number 1?
No, it is not.
So it has no, your view, it has no relationship whatsoever to conclusion 1.
No, correct.
So let's go to your discussion of
I wonder if this
a
is a lot of fun.
collision and a
I'm a lot of fun.
TechStream
I'm a fun
event.
guy.
Let's go back to paragraph 3.
Tons of fun.
You see, you mentioned the word collision in paragraph 3, correct?
I do not.
I'm sorry, I just had paragraph 3. I meant page 3, sir. Page
Yes,
3.
page 3. Yes.
Page 3, that paragraph we were just looking at. Paragraph 4.
Yes. Sorry. Yes, I do say
You
collision.
see the word, use of the word collision.
Yes.
And again, that term is used in the same paragraph as you're identifying TechStream event 1162-1 and 1162-2, correct?
Correct.
Where did you get the basis to use the word collision at that part of your report?
That would have been from crash reports,
And whose crash reports?
the Massachusetts State Police.
So you used Massachusetts State Police reports to discuss allegations of a crash, collision.
Yes.
Do you state anywhere in your May 8th report that you used those reports at all? Do you list it in your references?
No, not in this report. No.
And as a matter of fact, this is the first time, right this previous moment, that you are mentioning those reports at all, correct?
No, those were mentioned in my initial report.
But I'm talking about your May 8th report.
Yes. Sorry. Yes.
Okay. It is not your conclusion that every TechStream data event means that there is a collision. Do you, sir?
No, that is not my conclusion.
So isn't it correct that you can have TechStream events and they're not collisions?
Yes, you can.
And isn't it a fact that a TechStream event, sometimes called a trigger event, is not like an airbag type deploying, correct? They're just, and we're going to get to this later, it's just something that happens with a Lexus vehicle that can
Don't you hate when
cause the vehicle to
It's just
register
inside your ear.
a
Oh, drives me freaking
TechStream
crazy.
event, correct?
Correct.
And some people refer to TechStream event as a trigger, correct?
Correct.
But there's many things that can happen with a vehicle that can cause a trigger, correct?
Correct.
We will come back to that. So you would agree, again, that a TechStream trigger event does not mean that there was a collision, correct?
Correct.
A TechStream data event doesn't mean that airbags were deployed, correct?
Correct.
A trigger data event doesn't mean that there was a vehicle impact, correct?
By itself, no.
By itself, it doesn't mean, correct?
Correct.
A text stream data event merely refers to Lexis's practice of capturing real-time data from applications databases and not devices and transporting that data for immediate processing and storage or for real-time analysis and analytics reporting, correct?
I don't think I understand your question. If you could rephrase.
Sure. A text stream event merely refers to Lexis's practice of capturing real-time data from applications and databases. Is that correct?
I would not call it applications and databases, no.
What would you call it?
So from various sensors or other modules on the vehicle.
Okay, so
Sure.
it's Lexis's practice of capturing real-time data from various sensors and modules on the vehicle, right?
Correct.
Why don't we stop here, Mr. Alessi?
Yes.
Okay. Folks, we'll take a
Morning break.
recess, so let's get 20 minutes.
Oh, we're gonna have 20 minutes. Yeah, the video seems to have frozen on the court stream. I don't know what. I don't know why. This guy, like, Alessi's just picking him apart here. It's so obvious. It's like, well, we need. He hit confirmation bias right out the gate, which is interesting because that was a strange. It seemed. I don't want to say it seemed out of left field, but it was cool to see him frame out the narrative of like, I'm going to show that you went backwards. You went backwards from your conclusions and you've ignored, any evidence to the contrary. In fact, you've literally generated and manufactured new evidence to make your conclusion correct. And it's like super confirmation bias. It's extra. And so he starts off his questioning yesterday with this. You've heard of confirmation bias, and confirmation bias is bad and goes against the scientific method. And the scientific method's really important and very reliable. And so he lays this narrative framework of, I'm going to hit you over and over and over and over again on the confirmation bias. But then he threw the curveball. He's like, also, you don't even have an education, you dumb pile of garbage. Then he goes back to it. So now we're back in the confirmation bias where he's pointing out that like you're just making up the fact that there's this significant time variance and you just conveniently use it to shift the activity that was recorded by the, by the data on the Lexus, to just shift it to where you want it to be to fit your conclusion rather than to work forward and, deduce your conclusion from the evidence that's available. So he's doing it. It's a little boring today. I mean, yesterday was very dramatic with the education stuff. I mean, brutally dramatic. But today it's a little bit boring, but it's thorough, it's methodical, it's effective, and it's devastating to this guy's credibility, which is already in shambles. So it's great. Do I think the jury is getting it? Probably. I think so. Like the picking apart of this guy, it started and ended yesterday in a really bad spot for the witness. I mean, where Canone ended the day was right after Alessi tore apart the guy's lies on his own education, his own representation of it. I mean, they closed out the day hearing this guy is not credible as an expert. He doesn't have the education experience, and worse yet, he lies about it. That's a bad way to end out a witness. And then to come back and now have him factually dismantling his report is great, in my opinion. I don't think the timing of how everything worked out could have gone better for the defense here. So I really like to see that because they need wins like this. And also I've talked a lot about having the impression of I hit him from Karen Reed and how that's the state's, MO, and it's their narrative structure. And that's really important. What I haven't talked about so much is that the defense has clearly stuck to their narrative that literally every witness outside of O'Keefe's mom, literally every witness is unreliable and misrepresented. If they gave prior testimony, it has been inconsistent with current testimony. It seems collusive. It seems coached and crafted, and in light of all that, it is not to be trusted at all. And I think they are doing a good job of leaving an impression that every single witness, they've gotten them to say effectively that their own words are not reliable in some particular instance. And it won't really matter in a similar way, I think, to the state's, the details of what was wrong doesn't matter. I saw someone, I've seen some people like saying, well, just because he misrepresented his education doesn't mean that the data is incorrect, et cetera. It's like, well, but the jury isn't going to really remember a lot of the data or a lot of the individual statements. They're not going to remember that, but they will get a sense that every single witness got up there and was like, yeah, but you said something different a year ago, or this report isn't consistent with what you say here, here, and here. And so that consistency of narrative for the defense is about the unreliability of every single state witness. They're doing that very effectively. So again, I thought it was only fair to bring that up because I've talked a lot about the state's narrative structure, which involves impressions rather than facts. And the defense is doing it too. I think the defense is doing it effectively. And it'll be competing narratives and what has stuck and is convincing for the jury as always. But I don't think it's going to be as fact and detail oriented as a lot of murder cases would, because look at how long this case is. I mean, we're in the 5th week, right? We're in the 5th week now, and the state's still going. Like, this is a lot of details to take in and keep track of.
I'm going to pick up, sir, where we left off. A text stream trigger event does not automatically mean there was a collision, correct?
Correct.
A text stream data event doesn't, without more, mean an airbag deployed, correct?
Correct.
A trigger data event doesn't mean, without more, that there was a vehicle impact, correct?
Correct.
A text stream event merely refers to Lexus's practice of capturing real-time data from applications in databases, correct?
Sensors and other modules.
That's right.
Available.
You had said that earlier, sir. Sensors and modules. You reviewed the raw text stream trigger events on Miss Reed's vehicle, correct?
No, I did not.
Oh, you did not?
No.
Do you understand do you have an understanding whether Mr. DeSogra reviewed those events in his March 5, 2025 report?
I do not.
So you did not review the raw data for text stream trigger events on Ms. Reed's vehicle, and you did not therefore perform any analysis of that data as you sit here today, correct?
Correct. Outside of what Dr. Welcher provided.
Doesn't Alessi know that my ears are more important than his trial? Oh, man.
Are you aware that there were approximately 30 text stream trigger events in an 8-month period on Miss Reed's vehicle?
No, I'm not.
Assume the data shows that in the mere 8-month period that Miss Reed owned her vehicle, the Lexus in question, there were 30 text stream trigger events. Assume that. You would not conclude that there were 30 collisions in that 8-month period, would you?
No, I would not.
Would you agree, sir, that there were actually 2 triggers on January 29th?
Yes.
And the first trigger that you referred to of 1162-1, that was not a collision, was it, sir?
Without reviewing the data, I don't know.
Well, as you sit here today, you have no basis to state that the 1162-1 trigger was a collision, do you?
No, I do not.
And in fact, didn't you refer to that as a 3-point turn?
I did, yes.
And you didn't mention in your direct testimony when you talked about the 3-point turn anything about a collision, did you?
No, I did not.
And as you sit here today,
Thanks for the $5.
there's no fact or data that you have to conclude that there was any supposed collision associated with that 1162-1 3-point turn trigger event, correct?
Correct.
A trigger event can occur on a Lexus vehicle by a whole host of possibilities, correct?
Correct.
You
Correct.
could maybe slam on the brakes and cause a trigger event.
That is one possibility.
You
Yep.
could have just unusual driving. You could be going at a speed or doing something else that has nothing at all to do with a collision, correct?
That is correct.
And in fact, there are almost countless events that can occur that can cause a trigger event in a Lexus vehicle.
So I don't know the exact count of what type of triggers there are, but yes, there are
There are
a
many.
number. Yes.
Steve, no kidding. Oh my gosh.
So back to the 1162-1 3-point turn trigger event. On your direct examination, you just referred to event surrounding that as a 3-point turn, correct?
Correct.
And yet that 3-point turn registered as a trigger event, right?
Correct.
Are Lexus SUVs trigger happy?
I do not know, sir.
As you sit here today, none of the information in that black box that you referred to on your direct testimony indicates that there was a collision on January 29th, does it?
Not by itself.
Not by itself.
Correct.
And it doesn't occur that none of the information in that black box indicates that there was a collision on any day without more, correct?
Correct.
I'd like to now turn to a different topic, sir. In your direct examination, you referenced a Miss Maggie Gaffney. Do you recall that?
Yes, I do.
And wasn't part of your reference to her a criticism of her for some of the work that she did with respect to the Lexus SUV?
Yes, it was.
And for instance, you criticized her for failing to extract the micro SD card from the circuit board during the initial chip off, right?
So sure. So I did criticize for
God.
not identifying the micro SD card and subsequently not downloading it. Yes.
And on direct, you even tried to lay at her footsteps, if you will, your bits bytes misinterpretation on her by claiming that you assumed, quote, a competent expert, close quote, would not have overlooked a relevant chip. So you became confused how there could be data missing. Is that a fair characterization?
No, it is not.
Did you at all try to use as a justification for your misunderstanding of bits and bytes that it was her work?
Her word? you
Her
say?
work.
Her work.
Yes, her work.
So it was the overlooking of the SD card. Yes.
Right. So you did try to lay at her footsteps part of the reason why you misinterpreted the bits and bytes that we discussed yesterday. Is that correct?
No, that is not correct.
Okay. So you would agree then that the bits and bytes misinterpretation that you and I discussed yesterday had nothing to do with the work of Miss Gaffney, correct?
So in part, but that was my mistake. Yes.
All right. I'm trying to understand which
Say
is
my mistake over and over
Is
and
it-
over again.
Miss Gaffney's work had some part in your misinterpretation of bits and bytes, or her work had no part in your misinterpretation of bits and bytes.
Some part.
So you do attempt to lay some blame on Miss Gaffney for your misinterpretation of bits and bytes, correct?
No, I'm not trying to blame anyone.
Okay. In your January 30, 2025 report,
He's grown a bang.
are you consistent with your criticism
bang?
of Miss Gaffney?
As I recall, yeah, I believe so. Yes.
In fact, you yourself provided the explanation for why the micro SD card was not extracted during the original chip off, didn't you?
Yes, that it was overlooked.
Right.
Yes.
So if you could please turn to page 5 of your January 30, 2025 report.
Okay.
And sir, when you get there, if you could let me know, and I will then proceed with questions.
Okay.
So you do attribute to Ms. Gaffney in your report some responsibility for this micro SD card not being extracted during the original chip off. Is that correct?
Yes.
So let's go to page 5 of your report, sir. And
If Alessi never turns a fucking page
bear with
again,
me,
I
I
will
want to
be
get
happy.
you the
I will
exact
buy him a car.
location.
Stop turning the page on the microphone. Oh, God, my ears.
I don't have it exactly, but I want to quote it. Your Honor, may I have a moment to get the exact quote?
Sure.
Thank you. Thank you for that, Your Honor. I now have it. Mr. Burgess, if you could turn to page 5, as I was referencing, and go to the third full paragraph. If you could look about 2/3 of the way down the far right, you see the word where it starts with at. It's the paragraph beginning when examining vehicle
Yes,
systems.
I
You see
did.
that,
Yes,
sir?
I see it.
And do you see the at that is at the very far right of that paragraph?
Yes.
So it says, at the time of the incident, Burla, and
I'm
Burla
gonna sing more,
is
piss you guys off.
what? Can you read?
Burla is a company that offers and develops forensic hardware and software for vehicle modules.
Right. So at the time of the incident, Burla did not offer support for the infotainment and telematics modules removed from the Lexus, but have since released updated software indicating similar modules are supported via in-vehicle acquisition. According to Burla, currently, there are 2 known and documented modules within the vehicle that have the capability to store data. The infotainment module removed from Ms. Reed's Lexus is consistent with the MMU documented by Burla and has been identified as containing an internal micro SD card not acquired during the initial chip-off acquisition by Ms. Gaffney. Did I read that correctly?
Yes, you did.
So as you stated, Burla is the organization that you described, which for the purpose you did, I'm not going to repeat it on direct examination. If I could sort of put in layman's terms and see, you tell me if this is correct. Burla produces hardware and software to make it easier for non-technical people, as you put it, to extract data from a vehicle, correct?
Correct.
You describe in your January 30, 2025 report that at the time of the initial chip off, Burla did not provide support for the information contained on the micro SD card, correct?
No, so I think you're misreading that last sentence, and I can clarify.
Can you read the last sentence, sir?
I can. So the infotainment module removed from Ms. Reed's Lexus is consistent with the MMU documented by Burla and has been identified as containing an internal micro SD card not acquired during the initial chip-off acquisition by Ms. Gaffney.
So my question is, did or did not Burla, at the time of the initial chip-off by Ms. Gaffney, provide the technical support to address the information contained on the micro SD card?
No, Burla did not and does not.
Good. That I wanted to.
That was my identifier
Right,
of the micro SD
understood.
card. Correct.
So it was not until after the initial chip-off that Ms. Gaffney participated in that Burla updated their software to be able to identify the types of data, for Burla software to be able to identify the types of data contained within the micro SD card on the
Good.
Lexus circuit.
Thanks for
board. Is that
reminding me.
correct?
It is.
No, that's incorrect.
So Burla didn't do anything new after the initial chip off with its software?
Sure. So Burla released new software after the initial chip off that addresses being able to download software via the infotainment module while it's in the vehicle. So that involves plugging a USB in to the vehicle and downloading data. That does not address the micro SD card on the circuit board itself.
And Ms. Gaffney did not have, at the time of the initial chip off, that updated Burla software, correct?
Correct.
Okay, thank you, sir. Appreciate your questioning. Thank you for answering my questions. That's all I have at this time, Your Honor, but I have a bit to pack up, so Mr. Brennan can have a clear podium.
Go right ahead.
Thank you.
Brennan, come in and rescue this man. Give him a rope and say hands or neck. It's your choice. Climb out in embarrassment or remain there in shame. But at least you won't care.
Mr. Burgess, between the time you left the witness stand yesterday until this moment,
No.
have you talked to anyone about this case?
No, sir, I have not.
Really? You didn't talk to Aperture and say, you got to get my CV up there. I'm getting raped
Has a filing
with a K.
ever been made in any court in which your educational background has been misrepresented?
No, not that I'm aware of.
Pardon me?
Okay.
Not that I'm aware of.
I have a feeling you're going to learn today. You going to learn today. Hey, what's up, Tug? How you doing, man? Good to see you. Thanks for being here.
Did I understand that you're based out of the Aperture office in Texas?
Yes, I am.
And are you aware of a case in the United States District Court, Eastern District of Texas, Marshall Division, titled Jeffrey Glover and Teresa Glover versus Graphic Packaging International, LLC? Are you familiar with that case?
Yes, I am.
And is it correct that in that case, well, tell me how you are participating in that case, sir.
So I'm no longer participating in that case. So if I believe correctly, that would have been a accident reconstruction case from, I don't recall, a year or two ago.
And so it was a case that you did participate in, correct?
Yes, I did.
And what was your role in that case?
Sure. So my role in that case was an accident reconstructionist.
And did you provide any testimony, deposition, or otherwise in that case?
No, I did not.
Did you, in that particular case, there were, like all cases, filings made, correct?
I'm sure there were, yes.
I would like to have a document marked as the next exhibit for identification,
Okay,
please. May I present to the witness, Your Honor?
yes.
But back in high school, I think I had a part
Mr.
of
Burgess, I am
in center
showing
for a
you a
while.
document which has been marked as Exhibit EEE for identification, and I'd ask that you take a look at it, sir. Your Honor, may I remain here?
Sure, as
Thank
long
you.
as you stand back a little bit.
Exactly. Yes, thank you, Your Honor. With regard to Exhibit EEE, do you recognize the second page?
So the
and do
Muppet
you
Man is doing
recognize
Hales.
any stamping at the top of each of those pages?
Yes, I do.
And can you describe what that stamping is?
Sure. So that is stamping for a file date of 8/7/2023.
And is that a stamping of a federal court?
That I'm not sure.
If I were to show you a document, might a document refresh your recollection as to whether
Whether or not you lied, you lied.
Exhibit EEE is a filing in a federal court?
Yes.
May I, Your Honor?
Sure.
I am showing you,
Did you show those to Mr. Brennan?
thank you, Your Honor.
Every time I hear Alessi talk, I can only think of
I
Crispin
believe
Glover.
I
and Back
did,
to the
but I
Future.
want to make
And
sure.
just let me know.
Are
if it
you
needs to-
okay?
We will. Your Honor. Can I mark each of
Yes.
these
Now,
for identification? There,
Yep.
let me just give one first.
I told you to put 2 coats of wax. You're right, Mr. McFly. I'm sorry.
See that back. Sir, I am showing you what has been marked as Exhibit FFF for identification and
That's
ask
amateur
whether or
micropenis.
not this document
Apparently
can
her
refresh
life
your recollection as
Way
to
different
whether
than I
the
thought.
court
He thinks we
filing
can do better. I don't know.
that you reviewed in Exhibit EEE is indeed a federal court.
Yes, it is.
So that document refreshes your recollection that what has been filed is represented in EEE as a filing in a federal court, correct, sir?
Correct.
Guy's
Now,
got
what
a
I'd like to
putt
do
putt
is
course on
to
his
draw
head.
Your
It's like,
attention
do you want to take the riskier
to
road, but
the
straight path, or go around the big island in the middle?
page,
I'm going for the narrow
second
channel.
page of this exhibit.
You can't stop my
Is
golf
that
ball.
a curriculum vitae of you and a picture of you?
Yes, it is.
And sir, under education,
Objection.
I would.
The objections stay.
What?
You,
Do you want to bring it over? We can take
I
it
will,
over.
Your Honor. I will.
Jurors, feel free to stand up and stretch.
I think Alessi is trying to get in that that whatever his stupid company has changed his CV since yesterday. I think that's what he's trying to get to, but I don't know.
And what I would like to do is to ask you some questions, sir, with regard to the process in the case.
Okay.
Are you aware?
Change the unit to
or
centipede.
you
That's at
recall
100,
in
yeah.
This litigation, that as typical in litigation.
Is it a demi-peen at 50?
That as part of the litigation process, the parties have to designate their expert witnesses. Are you aware generally of that process?
Generally, yes.
Yes. And have you participated in the documents that need to be prepared for an attorney or a party to prepare documents and submit them to a court to establish the designation of expert witnesses?
No, I have not.
And so you have never participated or never been aware of a process like this?
No, I'm aware of a process, and that process goes through
Oswald,
other
you're-
staff members.
Okay,
You're right.
so
The
it
trannies
goes
over
through
at
other
Kiwi
staff
Farms
members
are
aware.
still
At
after me.
Aperture.
I'd forgotten.
Are you aware that that process is occurring, even though it may be done by other staff at Aperture?
Yes, I am.
And in this instance, you were aware in this litigation that staff at Aperture needed to submit documents in support of an expert witness designation, correct? Even though you may not have done it
The
yourself.
Apple Darling
you
says,
were
well, let's.
aware that some
Fafo,
person
Kurt has a
or persons
micropene.
at
Oh,
Aperture
no.
were performing that process, correct?
Correct.
And they were performing that process so that you could be designated as an expert witness in that case, correct?
Correct.
And so you were aware of the process, you were aware they had to submit documents that would establish your qualifications as an expert in the case so that you could be designated as an expert witness, correct?
Correct.
And now specifically with regard to Exhibit EEE for identification with these court filings, etc., even though you may not have done it yourself, were you aware?
You're aware that you have a
this
CV.
document, which is EEE, was submitted as part of the expert designation process we were talking about?
Not this specific document, no.
were you aware that a CV was needed to be submitted on your behalf as part of the designation?
How are you not aware
Yes.
of this?
So you were aware a CV had to be submitted, but you're saying you don't recall this specific one being submitted?
Correct.
Does the timestamp up at the top of each page of Exhibit EEE, including this page that is your CV, match the timestamp, or is it different from the timestamp at the top of Exhibit FFF?
No, that is the same.
So it's exactly the same.
Yes.
And have you been involved in processes in courts where your qualifications, including your CV, have had to be submitted to courts to establish a designation as an expert witness?
Yes.
And can you conclude from these documents, including the timestamps, that the submission that was made to the court to establish your status
This
as
is
an
a
expert
great
witness
question.
consisted of exhibits FFF and EEE?
Objection.
I'm going to allow that. Were you aware of that?
Yeah, no, not were you
Yes.
aware. Can you conclude that?
Your
Oh,
Honor, at this
no.
point, I moved EEE and FFF.
Oh, no.
You need one more step, Mr.
What?
And sir,
What step?
do EEE and FFF fairly and accurately represent the submission of documents in support of a designation of expert witness?
He's going to say, I don't know right here.
Yes, as far as I can tell.
Oh, my
Your Honor,
God.
I'll offer these two into evidence.
Oh, no.
Can I have brief?
Yes, come on up. Bring those, please, Mr.
Yes, Your Honor.
He just got that guy to authenticate those documents. What an idiot. All the guy had to say was, no, I can't tell. Someone else prepared them at Aperture. I relied on them as they're they do this all the time as part of my employment. If any document submissions contain an inaccurate representation, I wouldn't be aware of it. I wasn't questioned about it at the trial. I didn't misrepresent anything to the court. Maybe Aperture had a scrivener's error and left out this critical part of my educational experience, but it wasn't relevant to the trial. Any of this stuff, like all you had to do is say, I don't recognize it. I don't know. Aperture prepared something. Would you, does this accurately reflect what they filed? Bro, you just said you didn't know. So just stick with that. But instead he's like, yeah, it looks like it does. Done. Authenticated. Validated. Get into evidence. Open the panel van, blindfold and sackcloth that thing and kick it in the side door and drive it quick. That's getting submitted and admitted. And now he's perjured himself. Have you ever done this? No. Well, what about this time? Yes. What an idiot. So what Alessi just pulled off there was expertly done. Expertly done. Again, it's hard to get testimony or evidence authenticated from a hostile witness if they have any concept of what's going on.
So what I would like to do, Your Honor, at this time is to offer into evidence
Oh.
Exhibit EEE and Exhibit FFF for identification
As one exhibit?
as one exhibit.
Right, we'll do that.
Tweeting it out right now. Leslie just got this
Burgess,
dork to authenticate his
I am handing you, it is
CV.
now in evidence as Exhibit
Hold on one second.
193. I would like to draw your attention to the fourth page, which is your CV. And further, if I could, sir, draw your attention to the category of education, where it says BGS. Is it correct that there you state Bachelor of General Science in Mathematics and Business Administration, University of Alabama - Birmingham, Alabama, comma, 2024? Did I read that correctly?
You did read that correctly. And this was filed in 2023.
Understood. So now what I'd like to do, Your Honor, is to Ma'am, keep this for a moment, Your Honor. Give it to the witness as needed. Thank you. With Your Honor's permission, I would like to publish a document that is already in evidence.
Okay.
Actually, there may be two, 183 and 184. Let's start with
Micropene counter is
183.
due for an update.
Let's expand it. And then, Mr. Wolf, do we have
When we can play
what
the
has
chat.
just been to publish as well? So what I'd like to do is to publish first, with the court's permission, Exhibit 193 that we were just talking about, so the jury can see what has been the subject of discussion.
The jury's like, thank God. Because
And
we're
sir,
just
if you-
sitting here.
Mr. Wolk, if you could
y'all
just
are playing with your
enlarge, all
fingers.
we need is the education section.
Oh, no. All we need is the education
Now-
section. Shit.
Mr. Burgess, as I heard it correctly in questions from Mr. Brennan, you answered the question that whether you had ever filed a document that misstated your educational background in a court. Do you recall that question asked of you?
Oh,
Yes, I
no.
And your answer was no, correct, sir?
Correct.
So let's look at this
You're getting
document,
impeached.
which we've just gone through, was filed in federal court in the United States District Court, Eastern District of Texas, Marshall Division, which is a federal court. And attached to it is your CV. And in the line of education, it lists under BGS, Bachelor of General Science in Mathematics and Business Administration, University of Alabama, Birmingham, Alabama, 2024. You see that, sir?
I do, yes.
Now,
You don't have that
you
degree, though,
stated,
do you?
and now what I'd like to do is is there any qualification whatsoever in that line, that reference to BGS, qualifications at all, explanation, sir? Is there anything?
I don't know what you mean.
It's just a statement, right? There's words there. There's nothing after it that explains what's intended, correct?
Correct.
Now, what I'd like to do, Your Honor, is to go to what was filed in this case, which is in evidence, and we'll go to 183 and then 184. Now,
This one says currently
in what's been
pursuing.
filed in this case, there is a currently pursuing at the end after University of Alabama Birmingham, Alabama, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Let's go back, please, to
So he's going to claim that
Exhibit 193.
because it said 2024, that was implied to be a graduation date because the filing was from 2023.
There is no currently pursuing there, is there, sir?
There is not, but that was filed in 2023, so that would be an expected graduation date of 2024.
You've been
Okay,
expecting
so
to graduate for 17 years,
it was, this
idiot.
document was filed in 2023. However, there's nothing in this document
You're not
that
degree
in
track
any
in 2024. Not, you're not
leads the
doing
reader
school.
to believe anything other than the degree is obtained on 2024, correct?
Correct.
So the only way somebody in the court system or a judge or a jury would know anything about this is to have to know about court filing dates, correct? I'll ask it another way, Mr. Burgess. You know how to write. Let's go back to 183 and 184.
Ask him why he didn't get a degree in 2024.
You know how to write currently pursuing on your CV, correct?
Correct.
And writing
Was the
currently
walking track
pursuing
busy with people doing lunges?
lets the reader know that you don't have that degree, correct?
Objection.
You intend by writing currently pursuing, don't you, sir, that anybody reads this to know that you do not have a bachelor degree, correct?
Correct.
Now let's go back to what you filed in what was filed in federal court in that case. And it does not have the words currently pursuing, correct?
It does not.
So
Correct.
the reader, so it doesn't have that verbiage, correct?
Correct.
So isn't it the correct answer that you did file a document, your CV, in this federal court case that misstates the status of a Bachelor of Science in Mathematics and Business Administration?
Objection.
Sustained.
Excuse me, Your Honor.
The Mercado law is covering a live streaming murder of an expert witness.
You stated again, sir, that you have not
Massachusetts, but that's close enough.
filed a document
Somewhere
that
over there.
misstates your educational background, correct?
Correct.
And the last time I'll cover it, you know how to put currently pursuing on anything to do with a Bachelor of Science, correct?
Correct.
A Bachelor of General Science in Mathematics and Business Administration does not exist as an offered degree at the University of Alabama, Birmingham, does it?
Sure. So that is an error. Clearly,
An
BGS
error?
stands for Bachelors of General Studies, and that should have a with minor in Mathematics and Business Administration.
What is clear from that document?
clear is that you're not going to school.
BGS stands for a Bachelor of General Studies. What is clear in that document about the definition of that acronym?
That is a known acronym.
Let's go back to Bachelor of General Science in Mathematics and Business Administration. That degree does not exist. It is not offered at the University of Alabama, Birmingham, correct?
No, that is not.
So therefore, an
Oh my
incorrect
God.
statement about your educational
They don't even
background
offer the
was
degree
filed
he
in
was
a federal
pursuing.
court in Texas, correct?
Yes, it was.
Oh, so you lied on the stand just a second ago.
That's it, Mr. Alessi? You're done?
That's it.
There is.
I'm done with this corpse.